Rob is.
Got these.
Thing is, yeah, I just like this is about a foot. This is solid stainless steel or cast iron, I should say, right here. So
on Friday I did like a yawn and like knocked my head. But thankfully the watch is on the other hand. But no, we're not going to knock our heads because I'll just walk out the other direction. What
a day!
But you have you guys a treat, like we said. Obi filling in for Joe. Hopefully he will find his way back from Chicago, despite the Air Canada strike.
No, he was always planned to have today off.
I know.
Yeah.
No, but he's. I think he mentioned to Shreve they're driving back. I do believe instead of flying.
Yeah. Chicago's easy, man. That's 13 hours.
It's a great drive.
I would probably drove.
It's a great drive, especially if you're with the boys. A little bit of a road trip action.
We'll leave you at our highest spot of the day. Thank you so much for trading with me. Hopefully you guys can have some success with the midday, guys. That's Neil. I'm Sean. Ciao for now.
Yes. It's a two-person show. Two-person show.
What's that?
Two-person show.
Where am I at?
It's a two-person show. Okay. Well, I guess, sorry, Oba, it's just going to be me on the show today. Welcome, everybody, to the Midday Show. The guy on my left, you can't see him, but his name is Obi. I'm Sharif, and we're going to shout everybody out in the chat. All right, here we go. Fidel the Explorer. We got Juan. We got a Proper Paradox. Bovin, Day Trader Cut, Bob the Builder, A-Hole, Big Wick Energy, and Gorev. Shout out to Jaguar Nut, Lulu Hawk. We got J Haas, ATX, and Bax 200. Shout out to Big 440 Nephew, Travman for real, and Buffalo Soldier. Shout out to Good O 22330, Moon Alley. Shout out to Dorothy as well, Casey, Artemis. We got Jimmy Joe Smith and Mocha S Spaces 215 sugar free. Shout out to Sinso 9943. We got I Grow Fighting, whatever the hell that means. Alan Smith quadruple 8. What else we got? Brian. We got Gray Worm. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I hope everybody is having a fantastic morning in these here markets. Shout out to everybody on a Monday. Let me know what you guys are looking at. Tag Obi or I in the chat. We'll let you know what's good. What's going on, Obi? Good morning.
Much, man. I hope everyone had a solid weekend, man. Oh boy, I was trying to move with the pack on this one, and this one was definitely howling to the upside right off of the open. That $10 hold on Wolf was absolutely beautiful. A continuation, day 3 runner on this one, and I was just telling Sharif, I was like, I really like the short, and I was keeping it really, really tight as it kind of broke that consolidation. But then right before I got up from my desk, I did have the short at the 1050s, which I cover, sorry, 1060s, which I cover on top of the 50s and don't hold anything for the quadrunk that's happening right now, almost 50 pennies lower from some of those highs as of right now. But I want to see if that $10 area holds, Streef. Some of these runners have been going absolutely crazy. The amount of volume that's been on some of these names, absolutely beautiful. But here's something I do want to point out as well. It's coming into its anchored VWAP for the day. So this is what I'm looking at right now on the Wolf, Terra Wolf Inc. right here. So holding extended, broken that pre-market trend, coming in off of the open, consolidate, and gives us another leg to the upside, but pulling back into a potential area of support as of right now. And that anchored VWAP as well as intraday VWAP is coming into that $10 level as well, which is just that consolidation low. So maybe a little bit of confluence on the $10 hold. So that's what I was involved with off the open. A lot of people talking about UNH. Guess what? I'm watching UNH as well, guys. That beautiful pullback into prior day's consolidation highs happened to hold so well, and now we're trending back to the upside. Beautiful V-shaped recovery, and potentially poised for some fresh highs here, Sharif. And we were talking about this one last week, and it does seem like that follow-through is coming in, and the price action might actually be getting nursed back to health. But we have to see and wait for that one to come in. I'm waiting for that Wolf $10 hold.
Sounds good. Oh, yeah. Good look. SNGX coming into $6. It's a $5.99 high a day. This is up 114%. This is where the show is right here. The SNGX, the #1 gapper in the market at the moment. Nothing higher above $1, but there is a prohibitively large seller at the $6 area. A few thousand lots posted on the book, but it's what we can't see that's keeping us down. Keep your eye on this one. It was a breakthrough 5, so this one has an affinity for resistance at the whole dollar level. at least what we've seen on the day is that whole dollar resistance ends up getting broken. It was $4 early on right off the bat at that 9:30 time slot. Then it was $5 at around, I don't know, I want to say 10, 15 minutes ago. And now it's $6. And here we go again. Try to break through that $6 area, $5.92. That's what we're looking at right now. So that's what I'll be keeping my eye out, SNGX. There's a few other ones. Obi already mentioned TeraWulf. Here we go, 6 again, though. I got to pause. And there goes the $6 area. So that seller just got absolutely decimated. Shout out to the short sellers who like to short these small cap gappers above VWAP. Y'all are the real winners, baby. All right, let's keep an eye out on this one. Here comes that 620 area. It's really absolutely getting decimated to the high side over here. Anything you want to mention, Sean?
No, I'm still short Opendoor.
He's still a short Opendoor, so keep your eye out for that. Well, it's not a small cap gapper, but nice try, Sean. All right, so anyways, no, look at the market cap, brother. $6.20 area, 623 now the high of the day. Keep your eye out on this one. This one is the mover. We're gonna see if we can pick up off a nice key area, guys. SNGX.
Yeah, that VWAP is consolidating here on Wolf at the same time. 75 million shares traded on this one here, Sharif. So yeah, it's definitely doing some significant volume. Again, trading at roughly about $10. 75 million shares traded. That's a lot of dollar volume to be pushing through some of these stocks. And what is the average volume, you might ask? The average volume I have as of right now, sure, it's going to be skewed by the past 2 days. We've had a significant amount of volume over the past 2 days on Wolf, but right now the average 30-day stands at 54 million. So we are doing some significant volume all the day, already pushing that relative volume indicator. I'm watching Intel here as well. Intel, we saw it was up on some news last week. It got the presidential seal potentially. It was just like, all right, the U.S. government might take a stake into Intel, and yeah, it got up to 25, a bit of a failure to follow through 25, and we saw the kind of selling that Intel had coming into the end of the day, and oh boy, Sharif, I missed out on the trade. Sometimes I'm realizing that I should just be taking the opening print here, or even just taking the short off of pre-market lows for that continuation, because look, we got all the way up to 25.60s, and by the end of the day, we had reverted pretty much 80 to 90% of the price action, pulling us right back in. And then in the pre-market, more quadunk that brings us in below prior day's low. So any and every long that got involved on Friday is now underwater on the opening print, and we get some selling, aggressive selling actually, all the way from 24s down to 23.30s, only for a reversion. I missed out on the short, but guess what? I packed my patience, as you like to say, and I caught the reversion to the upside. 23.30s long, all the way up into 24s. Didn't quite take it all the way to 24s. Last sells in the 23.90s. But oh boy, did that price action kind of pull back, hold view up, and continue for a fresh high on the day. There, 24.20s current day high, but holding on to view up pretty well as of right now. So the question becomes, are sellers still in charge on this? The market is pretty choppy, Sharif, and
yes, sir.
I think everyone's waiting for maybe potentially some comments at the end of the week.
Oh,
at,
Jackson Hole.
So you know, that's something to watch out for. $10.10 coming in here on Wolf. So it seems like sellers are definitely in charge as of right now in the interim. Longer term, sure, the buyers are definitely holding this thing up. I want to see what happens if and when we get down to this consolidation low, or do we find buyers and bids coming in a little bit higher here, just on top of that 10? I'm really curious. Got to stay watching the tape and the price action on this one to really be there for the move. And it's a little difficult if you're not really watching it, I think, unless you're using some indicators to give you some indication of where players may or may not be. As of right now, I have VWAP on TeraWulf at $9.99, just like that sale. You know, it might be a good price here, but that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for the market to show me. I still like the short idea from the highs, but I'm not involved. But I don't want to get a little chasey either. So I'm gonna pack my patience, as Sharif loves to say, and I think that's a great saying. You just have to be able to kind of remind yourself and be like, all right, just be patient, be patient, be patient. And when you see it, and when it confluences and ticks all those boxes, that's when you should be hitting the keys there. and getting involved. But yeah, what are you guys involved with? Mind the Trade AI saying SNDL. Yeah, some of these solar names did SNDL is Sundial? That's a Wii name. Yeah, no, never mind. The sun always messes me up. Sundial. I'm like, all right. Yeah, no, Sundial's not doing anything. But what is doing something is Sunrun. That one was running yesterday, prior trading day. And let's see what it's up to today. Oh, boy. Yeah, look at that move off of the open. Beautiful push through 15. That's what I was watching. Prior day high was 1487. And we slammed through those asks right off of the open there. Look at the 1 minute chart to give you perspective. That's the first minute of price action that takes us from 480s, which was that prior day high area, right into 596s. So right into, 1596s. So it gives you over $1 of a move on a $15 name right off of the open. And since then, the buying has definitely dissipated. We've reverted 100%. We're actually trading back below opening range lows as of right now. So let's see where Sunrun will take us. I know FSLR was also running. First Solar. This is another name that's technically in play. And oh boy, okay, this one looking a little bit healthier than Sunrun. You can see that it's holding, it gapped up above a prior day's consolidation, prior day's highs as well, and holding a little bit higher on top of VWAP. Didn't quite do that 100% reversion back down to opening range lows like we see on that Sunrun. And of course, the ETF is TAN. Yes, the ETF is TAN, the Invesco Solar ETF. Let's see what that one's up to. Looking a little bit similar to First Solar in terms of the action here, a little bit of a crumble, but trading below VWAP, but still technically above prior day's highs. So yeah, good look on that. Not on the sundial. I don't know what sundial is really up to. Seems like it's stuck in a range here, but maybe you have some strategies that are good for things that are doing average to low volume on the day. I have no idea. Market here, is this a live chart? Yeah, okay, it is a live chart. I'm just like, okay, why am I not moving? Am I frozen on these futures? No, the futures have just done absolutely bupkis.
Bupkis. It is absolutely accurate. Oh, yes. I'm looking at the side chart.
There's the camera.
I see it. Yeah, I'm looking at the side chart right now. We've done almost no amount of discernible trend on either the ES or the Dow. The Nasdaq's up down 0.16, and the Russ up a little bit on the day. All right, guys, no luck with this SNGX trade to start, so we'll look to get in at $5. That's the next area, which also happens to be the 10 EMA. So that's what I'm looking at. So here's what we've got on the black charts on the dates. WGRX, this one was trying to break above $1, lost the dollar, lost VWAP, so this one's not really of interest to me. So is Opendoor, that lost VWAP as well, of no interest to me either. SNGX is the one that I've had ill-fated trades on to start the day, but this one's still above the 10 EMA, still above that $5. We'll give this one another try at around that $5 area. SGML was also of interest, not a big mover. This is, I think, a holdover from Friday when it had a bigger outsized move. It holds the lows and makes a lower high into 691. It's up 5 3/4. Not really much of a move on that. KYIV, I don't know why this name is running today. Maybe it has something to do with the meeting that's taking place today at the White House. Kiev has been under constant bombardment for a long time. Maybe this one can flip the switch, so to speak, and move to the high side here. 15.15 is the high of the day. This one is awfully spready for a $13 name. It's got about a 30 to 40 penny spread at the wide parts. CIFR, this is not really a small cap gapper, but it's a good name nonetheless. I think it's a miner. Pretty sure it's an Ethereum or a Bitcoin miner. Doesn't really matter to me. What really matters to me the most, though, is this 10 exponential moving average on the 5 that the price action has been very respectful of. So a pullback into 590, 5 low 90s likely gets me into the trade. TerraWolf, you heard Obi talk about this one. This is losing the 10 and the 20 moving average, and it's on the way to $10. $10 also happens to be that volume weighted average price, but I'm more reluctant, I should say, to want to base anything off VWAP, given the fact that Wolf and VWAP have rarely interacted, if at all, today. So, me picking it up off VWAP would just be a hope and a prayer that others are looking at that level, not a proven system to say, oh yeah, buyers have picked it up off this level on the day. Then last but not least, MyX. This was the IPO from last week. unlikely to trade this, but just keeping my eye on it for you guys in the chat in case there are some investors or holders from last week. This was been very respectful of the 10 EMA on the 5. It was just there moments ago, 34.15, now rocketing up to 34.80. It's quite spready and quite volatile. Be careful with this one. That's the IPO from last week, Adair.
Okay, Kevstar here on with regards to give a little bit of, I guess, background on this KYIV. This is actually the biggest mobile phone operator in Ukraine. Apparently, they had an IPO in the Nasdaq on Friday, though. As you can see, this ticker has traded previously. I tried to look into it to get more details, and I couldn't find any. But the timing of this IPO is really interesting, of course, with, as Sharif mentioned, the meeting between Volodymyr Zelensky of the Ukraine and Donald Trump of the U.S. today. It's also worth noting, apparently, this is the first time that a Ukrainian company has actually been listed on a U.S. stock exchange. So a little bit more context here for KYIV. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we have that $10 coming in here on Wolf. Let's see how well it holds. I just want to reiterate, this is the VWAP area, as well as a little bit of a confluence with anchored VWAP. Again, when things happen in the pre-market session in terms of an event or volatility or some news, you can see that volume spike right there. I like to kind of throw that anchored on there as well, and that's coming in pretty close to the intraday VWAP. So that's what you'll see very often is the intraday VWAP will coincide with an anchored VWAP if and when the pre-market if you're anchoring it to a pre-market, I guess, event there. So we're seeing some of that here as of right now. So I just want to see this consolidation low, which happens again once more to confluence with some of these pre-market lows happening at 990s on Wolf. So technically this is still a higher low as long as it holds above these 990s on the day. And again, all the way down here at 924s is the prior day high. So I think we do have definitely significant room to pull back in and still maintain that higher high, higher low structure on the daily chart here. Here comes $10. Oh boy, is there any sort of size sitting on that level? Let's take a quick look here and assess. I just gotta throw on highlight greater than 99 lots here, and we will see right there, buddy on 1004s on the ARCA book at 150 lots. So that's what I want to see here. I just want to point out that sometimes when you see certain significant size, it maybe doesn't matter that it's necessarily there, but what happens to price action after, if and when it does get taken out is a little bit more informative to me. That's what I want to look for. As of right now, this is a clean test of anchored VWAP at $10.03. The intraday VWAP is exactly at $10 as of right now. So we are moving up a little bit as that VWAP curls a little bit higher and higher into the $10 area. The market's pulling back as well. So let's see if it does more of this chop. We've only been stuck in this range here. And that reminds me, Sharif, speaking of ranges, what is Nvidia doing? Nvidia has been just following this range. And oh boy, this is the range that I'm talking about. Let's go to a 15-minute chart here so we can encapsulate the data from the past couple of weeks. And boom, right here, range highs at 184s, just shy of 184s, and then range lows just shy of 179. Sure, we violate a little bit. We did that on Friday. I was looking for a potential continuation, but that didn't come in as we were gapped up back into the range. So that just puts the range back into play. And you can see right here a false break technically of the range low happening on Friday, and that bid coming in and giving us a retest of the high of the range. So again, my, I guess, part of the playbook is getting involved with ranges, not necessarily at the extremes, but within the areas that it's showing you where sellers are and showing you where buyers are. And Nvidia has been a great example of daily, intraday, however you want to call it, maybe even a swing range trade over the past, how many days is this? Over the past roughly 11 days or so. So good stuff happening there on Nvidia. In terms of Tesla, I know a lot of people have been watching that name as well. Tesla has been continuing to make lower highs off of last week. You can see that nice little push into that 350, never really got through there, and every day we're making significant lower highs. Every time we make that high a day on Thursday, on Wednesday, we kind of, even before that, you can see that whenever sellers come into this name on Tesla, they come in hard and heavy and pretty much stay in charge for a majority of the day. So I don't know if we're going to see more of the same here, Sharif, but this is potentially what I might be looking at here. Just a simple trend line from where these sellers have been coming in. And guess what? Oh boy, a little bit of confluence right here as we're coming in to those trend resistance areas here on Tesla. So let's see where we go from in and around this consolidation. We've been making higher highs and higher lows here. And I think we have a little bit of a super chat. So we got DFLI from Raphael. Earnings better than expected. What's the play, amigos? Okay, we can take a look at DFLI and another one, Farm Trader, Sharif.
Yeah.
You seem stressed for a week or two. Hope you are well.
Am I?
Have you been stressed, Sharif?
I haven't. I'm just tired, guys. It's a weekend, a lot of tennis and a lot of work. So.
Since when do you play tennis, bro?
Oh, for a minute. Oh,
really?
Do you play?
I used to play a long time ago with my dad growing up.
Is that right?
Yeah, we fell off.
Man. Well, I have something to play with.
Busy. He got busy with work, and I got busy with school. We kind of stopped. We used to play a lot of tennis and volleyball together.
Yes. I do know. I don't want to get cultural over here, but you're my friend, so I feel like I have that leniency.
Yes.
Y'all love volleyball, though, right? With especially the heading too. Like
maybe.
It's like I haven't seen the heading until I saw you guys play, man. Like that's fantastic.
But,
what do you mean you have no idea?
I don't really watch volleyball like that.
Oh, okay.
But I believe it, dude. My dad used to play state level in India, so.
Oh yeah.
It's
amazing.
So he was pretty good at what he did, but he had some shoulder issues and he had to kind of stop doing that.
My old man had same issue there with basketball. Had to give it up because of the old knee there. WULF is finding a little bit of support here at 10. And I was hesitant to take this because like I was saying, I didn't see the proven area of support on VWAP on the day, but I gave it the old college try anyway. We're in at the $10 area, the 10-cent area, and now we're scalping up into the 20. It's got a good looking candle here. It's taking out all my orders. I'm taking out very little amounts of my position at a time, really looking for a bigger move up, but you never really know how these things are gonna go. So right now it's showing me a seller at 20s that we can't seem to shake. A big seller on Memex here with about 100 lots. He just got taken out. Now showing 21s. We're still south though of that 10 EMA. So this is something that I've been noticing a lot more with these small cap like stocks. When we lose the 10 EMA on the 5, I feel like we actually get in to the resistance as opposed to support areas. So that's kind of my concern at the moment with this one. So I'm going to keep my eye on it, and if it ends up breaking out, we'll layer some more orders. WGRX is another one that I had an ill-fated trade on. Let's load that one up. And the reason I bring it up again is because it's moving. Simple as that. So RX. Here it is. So now it's kind of coming to VWAP from the south side. It found support for whatever reason at the 20 exponential moving average. You're not going to see that on the white charts, but here's the black chart. You can kind of see all the support it had at that yellow line, not really using the green line all that much, but now it's actually using VWAP as resistance. So something to look out for there. If you're looking to get long on this area, maybe you should be looking for the break above VWAP. That would be my suggestion with these small cap gapper like stocks above that volume weighted average price. But there's the pickings are slim, man, even though I got to tell you, the Russell 2000 is the only moving or major average, that's positive on the day. So, looking for these to run, but we're not really getting the run so far. So anyway, the only position that I've got on right now is TerraWolf into that 420 resistance area. But we're going to keep an eye here on WGRX because we just got into VWAP, which is a little bit south of $1. Now that displeases me for a reason, because I like to use one specific area. Why? I don't want to say it like that way, but when you get VWAP, which is an important area of either support or resistance, and that $1 area on these sub $1 stocks, which is another area of important support or resistance, there's too much of an overlap between between those two price levels. So it ends up being a bit of a denser trade. Now, we are kind of taking out VWAP and now using the dollar as resistance. How many times are we going to zig and zag above this dollar, though, do you think, on the day? So that's what I'm trying to make my decision at now. Do I want to take another trade on this one and get cut up again? Because I initially had a couple of trades on it. Some were successful. Some gave back a little bit. As you saw here, we got stopped out below 88. But it's just not far enough above the dollar for me to really feel confident punching into this one. So I'm going to steer clear for now and wait till it clears the dollar. Now, it did this before. So just full disclosure, if you're waiting for a dollar, because I said to wait for a dollar, look what it did before. It got to that dollar, and then the best it could do was $1.07. It quadruple topped at that 107. So this one, you may even want to wait for more. You might want to wait for that $1.07. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for, guys. There's not much moving right now. We're going to give TeraWolf a couple of more shekels over here as we're now 2 pennies out of the money on the remaining amount. We'll wait to see if this one wants to hold 10 or break down below it, Obe.
Yeah, that $10 hold is interesting. There's about some lottage happening at that 05 to take one of your terms
like
there.
That one.
So yeah, that's let's see if that gets taken out. And something else, Coinbase. A lot of you in the chat pointing out Coinbase, and there's a strong volume bar. So I'm curious to know whether there's any news or anything happening here. That is the strongest volume bar on the day that blasts through high a day and now consolidating on top of 320s here. And Coinbase has been pretty interesting over the past few days here. We attempted to push another stock here that attempts to push towards that 350 and fails, and selling kind of coming in pretty aggressively over the past few days. But yeah, a little bit of a bid happening as of right now. So no idea where that's coming in from. But yeah, 322.90s is the high as of right now. Curious to know whether Bitcoin or anything else had any sort of a move, but it does seem like this is very isolated to Coinbase. You can take a quick look at Hood as well. Hood, oh wow, nice, beautiful V-shaped recovery happening on this one. I was actually looking for a potential continuation through that 115 mark, but that didn't really come in on this. So just being patient with that one there. And another one, Sharif, Starbucks. Oh boy, a little bit of a flush happening. I was looking for that continuation, but guess what? They're getting that refill today all the way from 90s to 93s, a beautiful reversion of prior day's action happening here. Nice consolidation to 93s and now breaking a little bit higher. So holding that trend really well, looking and doing things that are distinctly different than were happening prior day. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for sellers to continue being dominant on this stock. But yeah, it seems like it is all dried up in terms of selling, and it's only buyers on the day today. So interesting stuff happening there. Let's take a quick look at some of these volume leaders real quick and see what is on there. I know a lot of people are trading Opendoor, and wow, what a beautiful reversion on that one. I know Sean had the short on this one, and still no reason to buy since those highs. The break of trend, the break of the bid, the dissipation of the bid has sustained, and there's no buyers. There you go. There's that Pavlov trigger happening right now with the lunch bell. Pavlov's dogs, how they're trained to salivate at the bell. So we're getting some Pavlov training here at the firm for the past few months as well. But yeah, no, SNGX holding up pretty nicely. TeraWolf, oh boy. It's coming into that VWAP and holding pretty nicely here, Sharif, and we might get that moment of truth soon enough. That consolidation range low, again, coming in at 991, 990 in the pre-market session. So just watching that, not that far away, only about 13, 14 pennies away from that one on Wolf. Third most volume leader on the day. And Intel, oh boy, here we go. Intel pulling up into some of those prior day levels as well. So the bid on Intel has held quite strong off of the open. Like I said before, I did have the idea to get short off of the open, did have the idea to be like, all right, well, missed that. Going to take the reversion back up to the highs. Oh boy, the futures are coming into some of these lows as well. But yeah, no, Intel, we talked about this last week. Intel loves to do its own thing, and it is doing more of its own thing on the day. Is this IONQ? No, it's not. This is IQ. Huh. Let's see if IQ, just it's called IQ IYI Inc. And these guys, what do they do?
What do
they do provide online entertainment services. Attracts a massive user base with tremendous user engagement. Let's see. Headquartered in China. Nice. All right. So yeah, what's the short float on this one? Is the first question I'm going to ask right away off of that. So I don't have my right. You gotta know some of these things are absolutely beautiful on the front side and the back side, and we'll see real quick what the short float is on this one. 12.66% I'm seeing on IQ. What's up, Adara?
Time for our crypto segment, and Bitcoin actually consolidating pretty nicely here. This is the base. This is the 15-minute chart. We make this low here around that 114,724, but right now it looks like we're actually maybe trying to curl upwards. Of course, some of these crypto names have already jumped the gun in terms of that recovery, as mentioned by Obi and Sharif. We already have Coinbase pushing up higher here, but let's take a look here at BTC. There's some obvious resistance at 115,700. We've tapped this area a couple times. Let's see if we can come back and push above it because we are making some higher lows. So long story shorter, the 15-minute chart does show some signs for maybe a little bit of a rounded bottom recovery, at least in the short term. On the daily chart in the longer term, we're still near these all-time highs, so nothing to be too worried about here for BTC. The next level of obvious support is around that previous all-time high of that $112,000 level. There are some macroeconomic concerns right now that could be impacting Bitcoin. Of course, last week we had the PPI print coming in a little bit hotter than expected, actually quite a bit hotter than expected. That was on Thursday. We also have quite a few geopolitical tensions on watch, including the meeting between Trump and Putin on Friday. Then today we'll get Trump and Zelensky meeting, as well as some other European leaders in the mix. There's quite a lot to digest when it comes to the macroeconomic situation, which could be impacting crypto. Here's Ethereum. Also in a really nice uptrend, but pushing a little bit lower today. Let's take a look at some of these other names. Solana looking pretty similar to Ethereum, but with Solana, be aware of that 210 double top more or less here. This is clearly level of resistance for SOL USD. Let's take a look at Cardano as well before we let you go. Cardano is interesting. It's a little bit more consolidated. We still have that drop like what we're seeing with all these other crypto names we've brought up, but this drop is still very much within this recent, I guess, multi-day range with that base of 0.905 and that top just below 1. So actually Cardano might be a little bit better poised to recover from this level, but these other ones, while still strong, while still in these uptrends, taking a little bit of a setback here today in the crypto space. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Adara. Appreciate that. We'll keep an eye out on all these crypto-related names. All right, guys, we're keeping an eye here on TeraWulf. We're long at the 5 penny area, and we're basically in for VWAP. So that's really what brought me into the trade. The trade's up 12.5. I'm sorry, the name is up 12.5% on the day. But as Obi was pointing out to me while Adara was telling us about crypto, it is quite extended on the daily. So I'm acutely aware of the selling into VWAP and the likelihood that we could lose VWAP. In fact, you know, I'm probably not going to overstay my welcome too much on this trade. And the reason I say that is for a number of reasons. One, we're still putting in lower highs. So even though we're holding at VWAP, you kind of feel the sellers are in control. And two, we're using the moving averages from the sell side. This is a new method that I'm really starting to employ, which is to be acutely aware of a name and how it interacts with a moving average on the day. But the interactions don't end for the longs only. So you're not only looking for the 10 EMA to act as that support area, you want to observe how the price action interacts with that 10 EMA, or 20 for that matter, once it loses it. So if you were holding the 10 EMA all day, well, doesn't it stand to reason that you would start using that level as resistance? And that's something that wasn't readily apparent to me, just using this methodology, but that's something that's become more apparent to me as I trade these more and more every day. Now, it jives with me, that sort of thinking, not just because I have the data to back it up, but with the actual logic behind support and resistance. If you're using $10 as support, and then you lose it, well, then we all know what TA says and you use it as resistance. Well, why is that, right? Well, because there's a psychological aspect to support and resistance that we're not going to get into now, but it basically, people who see a price at a certain level, who lament not having gotten in, they get in at that level, or vice versa. People who see a price at a certain level and lament not having gotten out, so they get out. Anyway, the point is, it stands to reason that if you're using that area as support or resistance all day, if you lose it, it'll act as resistance, at least locally. And that's been my observation, at least for the last little while with these small cap gappers, that's what they're doing. So we're positive on it right now. We'll look to extract some more profits, but I don't think I want to overstay anything above maybe 10.14 because that's where the 10 EMA is hanging out. So I've put my beak wetters right below that 14 penny level. Let's see how that ends up doing. I had a good trade over here on SNGX after kind of not doing so well on it. Now, here's the deal. This one is holding at the 10 EMA on the 5, but it is putting in lower highs. So it's a 623 high. That's the highest point we've been at all day. And then if you look at that 575 spike, that's where I was involved in last time, where we got in at the $0.50 scalped out to 80s. They're all lower highs. That's the bad news. The other side is it's got higher lows as well. So it's a bit of a compression pattern. So when you have that kind of setup, I'm always caught between two minds as to whether or not we give up the 10 EMA and break down, possibly into 5, or we actually manifest what the compression pattern is supposed to be, which is a resolution in the direction of the trend, which is obviously up on the day because this thing's up 97%. So I am caught between two minds here with how to trade SNGX. So I'm going to steer clear on it for now. And while I kind of mull that over, I'm going to go ahead and flatten out my my wolf trade as it made another lower high right now on the first 5-minute candle to open after I got in. So that trade is done. I'm going to try to focus my attention on SNGX since this is the one doing the most volume. It's got the most upside potential. So we'll see what this one has to offer. If another one makes waits onto the scene, guys, and I don't have notice of it, just tag me in the chat. Let me know what's up, and I'll have a look at that one.
Yeah, thank you, Sharif. Again, market's coming back into its lows. It's still kind of sustaining those lows. So I'm looking across the board at things that are that I can potentially get short with. Oh boy, oh my God, this is what I mean. I missed out on that softy short. Softy through that consolidation low, that 520 that we were looking at. Oh boy, it's trading at 516s now, Sharif, and that consolidation low was at 517.50s, and let me show you what I'm talking about right here. So softy, back-to-back days where it cannot, or it's holding this shelf pretty well. So let's go to a higher time frame right here. So holding the shelf, flat bottom break on this one, Sharif. Look at that. Ooh. Beautiful hold right here. 520, 520, 520, lower highs building into it. And finally, today's the day that we're getting a little bit of that relief from whoever's been buying at that 520. We're trading 516s now. And this was that low that I was talking about. That low was coming in at 517.55 from August 7th, Thursday, August 7th. And look at that, we crack, we consolidate. I was short a little bit earlier into the 520s, but wasn't really patient. We're seeing this more and more. You gotta be patient for this one, because look, there's no real sign of buying at all. This is a 15-minute chart. Maybe a little bit of consolidation here at 517s, but holding that prior bar high and holding that seller sentiment through the range lows there on softy, it makes sense a little bit more why the market might be chopping around or looking a little bit weak here, as one of the top constituents is taking a little bit of a breather to the downside while the rest of them pretty much chop around. I'm seeing that Apple still holding above day low. Google, yes, printing a little bit of some fresh lows, but nothing too crazy on Google. Amazon as well near its high a day. Tesla as well near its high a day. And Nvidia maybe just holding a little bit of prior day's consolidation. That 181 hold looks interesting here as well on Nvidia. And that reminds me, let's take a quick look at some of these chips. We're already looking at Nvidia and Intel, but AMD may be potentially coming in for a bit of a curl here, but a little too choppy for my taste. You can see that selling coming in pretty nicely off of the open. Can't really get back through prior day's end-of-day range highs, as well as that 4 a.m. candle wick as well. The 4 a.m. candle wick shows us a little bit of selling coming in and more of the same with that open volume. Sellers coming in once again, just shy of that 179 on AMD. So good stuff there. A little bit of a continuation happening. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Microsoft long response. Yeah, I don't know about that just yet, but if it can catch a bid, then yeah, I do like it. It is a bit extended now through the day low. It's been holding VWAP, and that's what I had on my plan, man. It's like sometimes when when I'm looking for continuations, you just got to keep it simple and be like, if you're looking for this to trend lower, I'm just looking for the average participant to stay kind of selling. And VWAP is a great indicator of that. When price comes into the place where the average participant is sitting, does selling come into the market? And Microsoft has been a beautiful example of that. Let's take a quick look at that. So for this continuation, let's go to a 3-minute chart right here. So you can see, sure, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's very distinct. Off of the open, we chop, chop, chop. This is the first sign right here that we can't really get back above VWAP. This is confirmation because this is now confluence with the opening range low hold as well at 520.24s. And that 520 is also a little bit of that area of that range low. Not the extreme, but it's within that range low where bids keep on coming in. This is one of the first times we're seeing some aggressive selling, and then through that 1760s as well, bit of a consolidation for over about 30 minutes, and then cracking through that and running lower on higher volume. So yeah, bit of a strong downtrend, bit of a textbook hold and breakdown of range lows here on Softy happening on the day today. That $10 mark is coming in on Wolf right here. So let's see how well it holds. We talked about that consolidation low being at 990, only about 9 to 10 pennies away from that one, Sharif. So let's see how that one comes in. I'm looking for a little bit more, man.
All right, man. I like it because there's a lot of interaction still with that level right now. So it's still lower highs though. So I gotta say, I think your short is the right move here, unless something distinctly different happens, because the lower highs are super operative in that trade at the moment. All right, couple of new positions to alert you on. CIFR, I'm working into this one, 610 high. I'm looking for a 10 EMA retracement, currently showing me 99s. I'm also working back into WGRX. I feel like this one's got potential to break out. It's having a whole lot of trouble with $1, which is why I'm trying to be strategic about my entries. Prior bar low gets me out, so that's a break of 90 pennies. We've got 98. It's currently showing me 98s right now. So let's see what we get here on WGRX. Let's set up some beak wetters for this one. But I don't know what's going on with my orders. Sell. There we go. Good job, computer. I like it. You're so good. All right, so here we go. We're gonna keep
the Robot Olympics?
Huh?
You seen some of those videos from the Robot Olympics?
From China?
And the dude runs the guy over. He runs the guy over, and he's just like nothing happened. He just keeps on running. You know, I was like, go Chappie, go.
Get it, Chappie. Yeah, I know, straight. No, but that is scary as hell. Look, it looked super clunky, like for an initial Olympics. Obviously, I mean, doesn't look great.
I mean, hey,
but
this is just the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, right? That's well said, Ob, well said. So that's what we're doing right now.
The Chappie movie is looking more and more like a reality.
Yes. All right, so that's the deal right now, guys. WGRX, just looking for the hold there. We got bottom wick on this one at 94s. Looking for a continuation of the higher lows and higher highs that we're putting in on the 5-minute chart, knowing full well that resistance level of $1 still going unshaken. But if we break down below 90 pennies, I'm going to get out of this one. So let's go ahead and throw in the stop. I'm going to put it at 88s, and you know, we're giving up some of the trade secrets there, but that's okay with me. That's just kind of all right there. Let's see what else we got over here with our friend CIFR. We just got long again at the $6 area. I'm going to be looking. So Casey was asking me what my look on CIFR was. If it loses the 10 EMA, Casey, which it might during the more illiquid time of the day, we'll get out on this one. So I'm going to throw in my stop right now so we can kind of get everything settled there with this one. So we're going to get into that. That's good. Good look there. And then SNGX, man, this one feels very flat top breakish through that 580 area. It's just about being able to hold it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work into my position here on SNGX. There we go. We'll get into that 60 penny area, and I'll be looking to add into the 40s. So let's go ahead and add at 545, and that'll be with the idea of breaking through that 180 area. Sorry, 580. So that's my look on that one. All right, so now we're breaking through here on WGRX. Good look, and we take out a bunch of different orders there into into, 103, but the 104 order still does not get filled. So we'll have to pack our patience on that one. I'm looking for that continuation here on WGRX. We've got a position on this one, so it probably behooves me to put some other orders there. We'll put it at 103 and see if we can get something in and around that level. But essentially what I'm looking for is a hold above $1 and a break above 107. Whether or not we get that super quick or we had a dilly-dally, we'll have to wait and see. Going back to SNGX over here, because I have a dip trade that still haven't filled. We got in at 62s, but the idea here is to build the position with the higher lows for that flat top break through 575, 580. Here's what I'm seeing on the black charts. You can see there's a whole bunch of selling at around 575, but on the other side of that kind of trade is the higher lows. Got to digress from this one for a second because WGRX is absolutely flying through the roof, and we've got shares on this one, so we'll be able to extract some profitability here, but I don't know what is going on with my orders today because, I've do it a couple of times to get the fill, which is crazy to me. So here we go. We'll set it up over here. We'll set up at 10s as well, and then we'll layer orders into 12s, see if we can get that high day break. Currently it's 8s, but we're at 8 right now, and then you can see the wattage showing up there, adding to the wattage, not removing from the actual posted wattage. So we're likely going to get a sell-off here initially. There we go. We drip down into 107. Let's keep an eye out on this one, though. It has potential to take out that 108 area, especially if we can get really squeezy. Now, I don't know what the short percentage on this is, and I don't really want to look right now because I have to focus on the price action, but this is kind of what we're looking for. A flat top where we know sellers keep coming in because the buyers are going to know they're there. If I'm stupid enough to be able to see the seller at 108, trust me, the better traders are seeing it too. So they're going to look to take advantage of that. Now, whether they can or can't will have to be a different story. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We've got 95s on. We're showing 6s. Great news. How was that CIFR trade doing? Still holding 6, that's really what I'm looking for, that hold of 6 and a hold of the 10 EMA on the 5. And then moving back lastly here to SNGX, still break even on this one. Haven't done anything, looking for that flat top break OB through that 575, 580 area. Thank you, Neil, for that 1.3% float and 50 million shares of float on WGRX. I do appreciate that, Neil. Thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, no, it's always good to have those stats, especially when you're trading on those names. Just to be familiar with what it's capable of doing. Exactly. Right? You need to know what is within range, and I think that's always a good look here. I got a little involved here on the wolf, but no howling as of right now. Still just kind of chopping around that $10 area. A lot of volume going off here. A lot of mid prints happening. So yeah, it is a VWAP. I am aware of that. So I'm just gonna dabble a little bit here and see whether it holds up pretty well or not. But that $10 is looking quite nice. It's shown us already how many times the bid can show up here off of this area. So I'm just looking for more of the same, man. And if we get a little bit of a downtrend break here, that might start some buying as well. I got, again, speaking of moving averages, it's holding some of these moving averages pretty well. 10.04, 10.05 is the 8 EMA, 10.13 is the 21. And let's see if we can sustain prices above some of those moving average indicators to give us an indication that maybe buyers are now slightly in control. But VWAP can be a pretty tricky area, and it's definitely one to watch out for to see. Prior bar high on a 15-minute that we've been holding is currently sitting also at $10.13. So a little bit of confluence with that 21 EMA. And there's some green prints coming into the ask right there. So yeah, let's see if they slap it even harder. That's what I'm looking for, that $10 hold, that push into the ask. And
we're going to get banned, man.
Microsoft, hey man, this is just technical terms. Buyers will slap orders into the ask and sellers will slap orders into the bid.
I'm kidding.
I mean, they're taking them out. They're taking them out. They're wiping it. That's what I call it, wiping the book. So
Art, ask, wipe, come on. I'm trying to focus here, brother. What's going on over here, Obi?
Oh boy, all right. So What else is happening, guys? What else is happening? Let me know in the chat. I don't really see too much. Let's check out that Coinbase. I don't know what was happening there earlier, news or not. And oh boy, a little bit of a consolidation continuation potential happening here on Coinbase.
What's going on, Adira?
I was going to let you guys know I never saw any news on Coinbase. And get it, Obi, with the terminology.
It's too much, Adira. It's too number 2 related here. Like, I got to tell you, I'm going to tell you. Oh, I'm going to need to get up and go to the bathroom any minute now.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm doing much slapping during that time, but you know what I mean. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm waiting for these wolves to get running. Let's go. Let's see if the pack. Let's see if the pack. You know what? Maybe I gotta yell mush. Maybe I gotta yell mush for the bid to come in, and let's see if that'll come in. So mush. Do we have a mush? No, I don't think we do.
Oh no! People are trying to trade.
13. People are trying to trade.
Taking leaps. He's like, I'm trying to trade.
So am I.
Feel like, yeah, but you're distracting everyone with your poop innuendos. All right, here we go.
There's no poop innuendos.
All right, maybe I just got a dirty mind there. All right, CIFR is the trade. We kind of hoped it would be, guys. It's holding the 10. EMA on the 5. It's a good looker right now. Let's see how much this one's got to the high side here. 614 high. It's at 14s, as you can see right now. So not a bad look right now on CIFR. It's up 17.5%, and I guess looking to do more. But the SNGX trade, it's going to be the death of me over here. We got 38s on. It looks like it wants to lose that $0.25 area. So the last line in the sand for me is going to be that 510 area. Let's see if it holds up at the 510, and we'll give it a little bit of room there. And then this one continues to do quite well here. WGRX taking out another area high, got printed at 8s. There's another high, 9s now on WGRX. We're waiting at 10s, but it's a struggle for the longs at every penny. 9 showing up again, taking off the size there on the book. 10s now on the level 2, on the ask side, but prohibitively large size at every penny, guys. Literally at every penny. So be careful with this one. We'll see. Neil already told me the short float on this one is not too large, so you're not really likely going to get that parabolic move higher unless a really big buyer comes in and wipes out all or takes out all the offers there at the level. So we'll likely have to stair step up here on WGRX, just given the float and the short float of this particular name. So let's just keep an eye on it and see where it ends up. SNGX still holding on to that 30 penny-ish level. I'm going to try to pack my patience on this one. Up into 35s it goes. 38s now showing up. Seller at 38 over here that we can't shake. And that was the second time we move into 38s and we can't shake that seller again. So we'll have to see if we can get up into that area. That's exactly where I'm long at 38. And then over here, bro, wow, CIFR, man. The more calmer, the better these ones look. I mean, we've got shares on. We're going to continue to scalp at every penny. I know it becomes like a convoluted trade over here, but if you look at the 1, you can see this a little bit cleaner. But we don't chart off the 1, nor do we execute. So let's go ahead and post some at 18s. We're going to post some at 19s. We're going to post some at 20s. Let's see what we can get. Mush, absolutely. Shout out to my man, he is the one, Kenobi. All right, SNGX took out that 38 seller, but it doesn't have the juice to let the price loose to the high side. So all these orders continue to go unfilled. Whether or not we're putting in higher lows doesn't really matter to the market at the moment. The sellers, they want to take control of this pullback into the 10 EMA on the 5, and they're not making it easier for the longs like myself who are long at this area and looking for a hold and a move up. It's not going to be that easy, or so it seems. Here we go, 44 showing up. Can we get another move up into a better area? Not quite. We can't. So we'll wet the beak there with some shareage in the low 40s. But looking for a bigger move up.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for a bigger move up here on Wolf, and let's see, we are getting the bid. We broke that trend a little bit. We broke prior bar high. So now I'm just looking for follow through. Can we hold some of these prior prices? Can we push a little bit higher? The market, I don't know if we want to look for too much market confluence as well, because this thing is kind of doing its own thing. But I do want to stay involved with this one as long as it can hold a little bit of the bid here as well. So I am kind of piecing off along the way. I do want to get back into a lot more. more. I think I took about, I forget what my intended full size for a proper position was. That's written back at my desk, but I'm pretty sure I took roughly a little less than half and piecing out of, I guess, about half of it as of right now. But looking for that continuation, I want to see structure start to hold maybe above 1020s, 1025s. We can see that prior high was in and around 1020s. So anybody who's chasing this short may be risking in and around some of these levels. And if they are, oh boy, they're going to be, I guess, wiping into the offer. Is that
oh my goodness? I absolutely love it, Obi.
Whatever.
Don't ever change,
it's the same. It's the same thing. The same thing right there, but oh boy, so yeah, I'm gonna piece off as I see some of this action come in here. I want it to see it hold this prior low here at I guess $9.92. For it to kind of show us that, yeah, maybe buyers are definitely a little in charge as of right now. But I got to stay as nimble as possible. You can see, well, you can't really see how many outs I have here, but they are a decent chunk of outs underneath the quarter. Again, I ask this question. You guys might hear me say this often. Can you print the quarter? Can you hold the quarter, then print the half? And that's kind of how I like to look at things. And sometimes I even look at the eighths because I don't know if you know, there was a time where things traded in the eighths, and I don't know. It's just maybe it's a little bit of a bias, but I do kind of consider those. I guess, not segments, but those fractions and those chunks of price action to be a little significant here. That's why I like my quarters as well. I like my 33s. Here we go. Can we print the 20s? I have no idea. This thing takes a long time. Print the 20s for the man, dude. Bro. I think I know we've been calling out mush, but we're taking a little bit of a water break here as of right now, mid-journey. I don't know why, guys. Like, we just started off. The $10 is right there. We're only 15 pennies off of some of those lows in that VWAP consolidation hold. The break of trend. So am I smelling a reversion? I definitely did down there at $9.99. And that came in pretty nicely. Let's see if we can come in a little bit more here. But again, sellers have been in charge since those 1070s. I really, really liked the short. Honestly, I like the short a lot. I shorted all the way from $10 to 1070, but guess what? I managed my risk pretty well, only giving it 5 to 10 pennies, and I did get pretty aggressive at the highs. But you know what? Doesn't matter. You got to hold for the trade, and there was no reason to buy until that VWAP hold came in, and that was a move all the way from 1060s on the confirmation of the lower high after the trend break, all the way down to the $10 level. So about 60 to 50 pennies on a stock that's done 88 million shares on the day. So just stay under 1%, you know what I mean? Just stay under 1% of the daily total traded volume, and you'll be fine, I think. That's what I've heard for the most part. And definitely a lot of liquidity in this one happening here today. So, Wolf, I've pieced out of most of it here. Let's see if it can come into anything else a little bit higher. I'm going to move on. Where is the next trade? That's what I'm looking at. And Robinhood, oh boy, Robinhood coming in potentially, and Coinbase. All right, so it seems like some of these crypto brokers are running and pushing some fresh highs. We saw that Coinbase aggressive move all the way from 316s to 320s intraday on the news. And again, there was no news. There was no news, but a nice little push on a potential technical break as well as the high day gets taken out. I'm going to consider it as an event. Whether or not there is any news to confirm, oh boy, I'm selling more Wolf when when it's holding the 20. So you know what? I'm going to cancel some of those orders a little higher and see if the 25s can potentially come in here on Wolf. So this is starting to look a little bit better. I think maybe that water break is starting to come to an end here. But Coinbase, nice little push. I want to throw an anchor to VWAP on that strong volume bar, because to me, news or not, definitely an event happening there, whether it's price action, whether it's catalyst driven, doesn't matter to me, because volume will speak, I guess, volumes in itself. I don't know. Yeah, no, I say that very often. The chart and the price action will speak literally in volumes, and that's something to watch out for. Event or catalyst or not, it seems like the follow through may be potentially building here on Coinbase, and we can see sector-wise, it's pushing as well as a hood pushes up to its high a day. That's sitting at 113.84. As I already have some levels marked off. Robinhood prior day high, 114.36. As the bid definitely came in on this anchored VWAP. I don't know where it's coming in from, but guess what, Sharif? I'm going to take a guess and think that is from Earnings. Okay, so yeah, maybe not. Where is it actually from? I don't know. I usually throw in these anchors at things that I think are specifically significant. Now, whether that's a catalyst or just price action, that's going to be up to me. Yeah, a lot of it's just purely volume, purely volume based as well. So let's see if Hood can crack some of those high days. What's up, Adara?
Just before we go to Adara, I'm just going to mention, guys, here SNGX has been holding the 10 EMA on the 5 for a good amount of time now. I'm starting to notice that we could approach that 575 again. We're now showing high 50s here, low 60s. We got 29s on, but be careful with this one, guys. It does have a tendency to meet a wall of sellers and drop aggressively. I'm going to be looking for a break, a flat top break, if we accumulate into 575, guys. Keep your eye on this one. I think it's still valid here during the midday. We're about to make local highs into 60s again, so just be on the lookout here. SNGX still up 100% and looking to take out the top. And then CIFR continues to stair step up, but be careful with that one, guys. It looks like, if this one, the algo programs get shut off on that, this one could be in for some trouble. There's SNGX taking out at levels, guys. I'll send you guys to Adara, and then Neil's got his lesson of the day. Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
All good there. Let's take a look here at the S&P 500 because this one's basically been consolidating the same range all day. Let's see what the Nasdaq's doing, basically the exact same thing. Guys, we are waiting for the meeting between President Donald Trump of the U.S. and President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. Now, this could be pretty significant. Apparently, according to Trump's public schedule, at 12 p.m., so right now we're starting to expect these European leaders. Then at 1 p.m., in about an hour from now, Trump will be greeting Zelensky. Then at 1:15 p.m., they will begin their bilateral meeting. In case anyone missed it or was not aware, back in February, the last time that we had a bilateral meeting between Trump and Zelensky, things got pretty interesting, so let's see what happens today. This can always be market related, and I think it's also worth noting, given the larger context of the geopolitical tensions here, specifically with Russia and Ukraine, this will certainly be something to watch. Maybe keep an eye on oil while this meeting takes place. Palo Alto Networks, as I've mentioned a couple times now, they're actually reporting after the bell. You can check that out with Neil and myself. We'll be covering these earnings for sure. Blink charging here, BLNK, will also be reporting after the bell. They got a little bit of a move earlier today. Now I want to actually talk here about our new series of posts here on X. I just finished posting the series, so until Donald Trump tweets about more Truth Socials about more public companies, the series is done. But we have the final 2 posts in the series just came out today. This one here covers Trump's post about AT&T and American Eagle. And then last but not least, we have the Intel-related post where Trump called for the resignation of Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan, then said he met with Lip-Bu Tan and that I guess he was a fan. Then a day after that Lip-Bu Tan post, we had Donald Trump coming after Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon, pictured here DJing, and saying that maybe he should focus on being a DJ instead of running Goldman Sachs. You can check out all of these posts on X at TTV Research and certainly follow that account if you enjoy interesting market-related analysis. But in the meantime, we've got Neil. We've got a lesson of the day. So without further ado, Neil, give us that lesson. Get it, Neil.
Thanks, Adair. Thanks, Sharif. Lesson of the day is we always say don't let a stock off the hook, right? Like if you like it long and it's long all day, it's along the entirety of the day, find other ways to get back in. Buy the dips, take breakouts, continue with the trend to the best of your abilities. But there's another side of that coin. When you like a certain direction and it's been working and it sets up again, there are some situations where maybe you don't want to play the continuation play, or it gets to a level and you like it long or short, and there's something else about the trade that maybe you should get away from it, or you feel like you should get away for. You look back and it's like, why didn't I get away from that trade? Something had changed. And that's where sometimes you've got to find these higher time frame reasons to understand that I like a price level, I like a direction, but this stock has now changed fundamentally. And I'll give you the example with BM&R, right? Like I was short this pretty much the majority of the morning. We liked it. Anytime we break down and I'm looking for a direction, the first thing I always think about is VWAP. Does that work? Yeah. It breaks the low of the day. Does that work? Absolutely. But then I think back to, am I going to short the pop? Well, if something's trending into the downside, I want to short pops. When it starts making higher lows, you get out. Look at Friday. Like you would have been getting away from it. A perfect example of it starting to trend up. But it's a bigger reason why when it came to the pre-market high, and anybody that's watched this show, this trends into the pre-market high and does a trend break right in here. How many times have I been short in a move like this into the volume weighted average price? Like 1,000,000 times. 56, looking for VWAP. But the reason I didn't do it, and granted, like it didn't work, so if I had done it, I would have lost money if I had tried that long. But the real reason why I didn't do it is because I took a step back and reminded myself of the structure of the trade. One, if you look at this on a daily chart, bounce higher, and it was pulling back into a consolidation. And look where that consolidation, first dip into 54, that was where it broke down for that breakdown short. But what's now happened when you zoom it out? Oh, 54 held the morning. What actually happened here is you liquidity grabbed in the AM underneath that 54, and now it's going higher. So yeah, it sets up on my 3-minute chart, pop off the high, mean reversion trend into the volume weighted average price. Yeah, that setup is there. But when I pull out the 15-minute chart and look at what happened, you have what was a bull flag on a longer term time frame. You have a liquidity grab under support, and then support reestablish and trying to break out the highs. Now, I don't have to respond to that by going long, but it does make me sit out the next short. And sometimes it is just it's that simple, where you like it over and over again, or you like that trend, but something changes, and a lot of times, like the reestablishing of a key level, the buyer's winning at a key level, so even though the short sets up, I don't like the overall structure of what has just happened in that trade. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, Tesla. All right, I hate you, Tesla. I don't hate Tesla. I'm gonna shift for a quick little second because live, I just missed half my entry into Tesla. The other thing to do is, and when I talk about I'm just gonna move this one in because I've given you the lesson. I want to give you the other side of it, because the other side of the coin is when you do like something and it keeps on setting up, sometimes it's like the opposite. Instead of getting away from a trend trade and letting the stock off the hook, you want to be more aggressive getting back in. Tesla is my example of that today, and we're going to use it real time. Ooh, don't fail that high. That's an easy out. Anyways, little scalp trade from there to there. The bigger thing is, I like to buy the dip on Tesla. I said over 327, I want to be long. The first available dip is around VWAP, and I'm looking at this range here, 331, to VWAP. Now, what ends up happening to me is it comes into the volume weighted average price, breaks down, and bounces off 31. I missed this entry here, and suddenly I'm anchored to 331. Right? Like at this point, I like the long. I'll just get the same long again when it comes back in, holds VWAP. Does it come back in and give you 331? No, then it holds VWAP. And so sometimes when this happens to you, you have to find a way to get more aggressive. Like I want to be long this, and now I'm not getting the price that I've anchored myself to because that was the first long I've had, but it's giving me these higher lows. So what can you do with that? I strongly dislike a long here. I think that's a little risky in the middle of the day. So I wait for it to break this wedge, and then jump into let me cancel that bid, jump into the long as it breaks the wedge. So sometimes you got to let the stock off the hook because the structure has changed. Other times you need to find ways to get more aggressive and not just buy at the price you were hoping you were able to buy earlier. Missed opportunities. Never would take that trade. That's just not my cup of tea. Long away from VWAP there. But when it breaks out of consolidations, I'm just hunting for long setups on Tesla because the overall structure is perfectly fine when it comes to Tesla. It bounced off the 200 period moving average. That's what I wanted to see on the daily. It held that 327 bottom. At the end of the day, you can like a stock in a certain direction, but if it's doing everything you want, you need to do it more. You need to get in more. You need to find ways to add to your trade. Sometimes using a different strategy than you would have done at 9:30 in the morning or at 10 o'clock. But the other side of the coin matters too. Just because you think a stock is a great short, if something changes on the higher time frame, a key level gets held, maybe a big buyer emerges, you just got to be able to get out of Dodge. Because how silly would it be to turn a stock like BMNR, which was a good short off the open at 9:30 multiple times, why would you bother going red on that just because you felt like fighting it because you liked it as a short? Don't do that. I don't want to sit there fighting a stock all day long. Take your win, move on and stick with the one that is doing everything that you wanted. And go Tesla, break 335. I don't see why we can't go a little ham today, relatively strong in the day. Find your ways to stick with the trend when it's working, everybody. And don't hesitate to jump away if something changes your mind. That's your lesson of the day. Go get it, gentlemen. And I am eyeballing that dollar stock that Sharif is trading because I like those dollar retake for the fail, but it looks pretty strong there, Sharif.
Boy. Thanks for that, Neil. Sorry, I was just trying to concentrate on MB here, guys. So we got into MB, scalp, 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 stopped out, scalp, stopped out. So this one is breaking out, but it's below the high of the day. The high of the day happens to be that 710 area. It doesn't feel like it has the continuity in a straight line anyway. So maybe the pullbacks here are the opportunities to get in. So we'll get in at 55s there. Super quick look to scalp into 60s, and we'll set some orders in the low 60s there. I want to see this hold prior bar low, knowing full well though that prior bar low is sufficiently far from where we are here. Okay, so there we go, popping up into the high 60s, low 70s we go again. So we're back into this one and scalping again. Layer the orders, at least I'm going to layer them because I'm not fast enough to be able to scalp out with this one when it's just sitting in a zone there. So I'd like to see this one hold prior bar low, but you just never know how these things are going to go. I'm talking about MB. It's up 85%, give or take. Let's go ahead and throw the order just south of that $0.50. If that means giving it a tight stop, it means giving it a tight stop. I am fine with that. Back into the 70s we go. 72 showing up. We'll take another quick scalp there. But again, it just doesn't have the continuity. Right back into that $0.50. MB goes, so it's got a lower high currently in this 5-minute candle. The prior candle high, I believe, is 78. This candle high, 74. But here we go, challenging that level. It just took out all my orders to the high side. Into 80 we go, and then right back down into my entry. It's got no continuity, at least in, a consistent fashion. You're going to have to deal with BS on this one. So there we go. We'll take out the other remaining amount as it comes back down in again. So as you see, that's twice now, 3 times, in fact, that's happened. Enter, scalp, stop out, enter, scalp, stop out. So MB, 2 topping tail candles into 575. I think I've seen better trades than this, but hey, when the pickings are slim, the pickings are slim. You can't do anything about it. All right, WULF is headed back up, so I'm going to get back involved in that. This is an obvious hold off the volume weighted average price and another move back up. I'll get to my CIFR trade in a second, as well as my WGRX and SNGX trade. I'll update you on those in a second. But when you look locally here, at WULF, maybe I spoke too soon. So let's have a look at this a little bit further. Clearly, there's a buyer at 10. We've seen that before VWAP was there, and we saw it when VWAP was there. So I'm hesitant to say that the buying has anything to do with VWAP and has a lot more to do with the $10 area. I'm talking about WULF. So that's my first premise that I'm going to base my trade on. The second premise is there's clearly a seller at 1020 to 1025. And that happened during the liquid time of the day and the illiquid time of the day. Look at the volume bars here after the bell as well as before the bell. 8:30, 8, 8:15, 9, we were selling off at 1020, as you can see, into 1025. The same thing happened, whether or not the implied balance high took us a little bit higher or not. Look at the closing prints on all these candles. Every single one of these candles after 9:30 and before closed below that 1020 area. And then the volume broke out. Then we got the 1071 high. We break back down. We hold 10. Lo and behold, what's that level again? 1020 yet again on WULF. So clearly there's a range to be had, whether or not there was an outlier area over here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I would say that the trend still is to the 10 low, to the 1025 high. Base your trades on that. I think you might be fine because that's obviously support and the other areas of resistance. So if you're going to get long at 10, maybe leave a piece for the dream if you're scalping into the 17s, 18s, or whatever. So that's the look. All right, now this one, MB, It doesn't go up in a straight line, but it goes up. So this one, I'm getting out too soon. There it goes into $7. There's a new high of day, Obi, $7.27, and right back below 7 it goes. So it's very volatile. It's very crazy. You're going to need to give this one room. I would suggest prior bar low as your area out, just given that this one is super volatile. So try to place it strategically here, you know, at 725, 750. I think you'll get stopped out. I think the safe bet here is prior bar low. Now, the problem with prior bar low is if you're getting here 729, 730, look where prior bar low is, 589. So it's like $1.30 south of your entry area. So that presents obviously a bit of a strategic problem. So those are the trades that I'm currently looking at. Let's just quickly look over the trades that I had. Oh, wow. Look at MB just go, bro. Jesus. All right. So, yeah, it's flying, Neil. SNGX. So I took this one again, scalped up all the way into the mid-70s. It broke down. We took it out ahead of break even. I didn't want to wait even till break even. And I think that was the right thing because that's the first time on the day we've lost a 20. So this one will be either removed from my side charts or it'll find support at the volume weighted average price. Currently showing me 469 to 475. We'll see if it ends up holding there. That would be around right here-ish. So it actually could find some support at 480 as well, given that was a previous area of support. So that's the look there. And then WGRX, just before we send it back to OB, it was this one right here. We get basically almost the high of the day into 108. It breaks all the way down. I flattened out over here at 98 pennies. We were long 95. So this one ends up giving back a little bit as well. Not surprised by that. We'll keep an eye on all these ones. And if you're seeing any new small cap gappers, let me know. But it's really the MB show right now, Obi, because I think this one's going to halt up. In fact, it is halted. So, where's the beef on that, says Neil. All right, I like that one. 756 halt, Neil. Here's the deal. It halted right at the 1 minute time slot, 12:16 double O's. So this one, the earliest time it can open is 12:21 double O's. So get ready for it. Now, it could be longer, could be 10 minutes, but they typically come in waves of 5 minutes, and then they'll add more onto that. The Katina Man's now back from the gym. And then we'll hear what he has to say about some of these long positions. Get it, Katina Man. What are you looking at, Ob?
So I did try to do a quick, cheat Tesla as we pushed up through high day and. Sorry about that. Yeah, I did try to get a little cheeky with Tesla as it pushed up into high a day, just underneath that 335, which I think has been pretty interesting. The 335 area, give or take $1 or so on Tesla. I like the push, but yeah, a little bit of a dabble on the short there. We're getting stopped out as we push back into high a day, and it's perfectly fine. Looking for the next trade. Where is the next trade? I'm still involved with this wolf at that 9.99, but guess what? I've pieced off over, I would say 90% of what I had because, like I said before, I was looking for that sustain of $10.20. It did not show me any sort of strength like that. So I was like, all right, cool. I do want to start being a little more active, and if it's not going to follow through right away like I'm looking for, then I want to be, a little bit wary of a potential sell because, again, we did define a little bit earlier that off of the high a day, sellers are definitely a little in charge on this one now, and that $10 mark is pulling back in. So yeah, let's see how far we can get with that. 335 is now testing on Tesla here, so got to keep an eye on this one there. See if there are going to be any sellers, but you can see the market's curling up here as well, Sharif.
All right, Obi, exciting news for Canadian sophisticated traders. Beta Pro by Globex Canada has just launched 6 new triple leverage ETFs. They're offering 3 times bull and 3 times bear exposure to the S&P TSX 60 as well as semiconductors and U.S. Treasuries. You want even better? Well, they're offering a special fee rebate, dropping management fees to just 65 basis points all until December 31st, 2025. These ETFs also employ currency hedging to seek to neutralize U.S. dollar exposure, providing performance that may more accurately reflect the underlying U.S. equity indices. So if you're a tactical, sophisticated trader looking to amplify your performance, check out betapro.ca/3x daily to learn more. Shout out to the great folks at GlobeX. Adira.
Yeah, so to let you guys know here about Live Nation, this might not be a super huge story, but I think it's worth noting the FTC is apparently suing TotalTickets.com, specifically its owner, Key Investment Group, because apparently TotalTickets.com evaded some Ticketmaster purchase limits on the Taylor Swift Eras tour tickets. So LYV, of course, Live Nation, owner and operator there of Ticketmaster. So a different company is being sued for evading these Ticketmaster purchase limits. Keep an eye here on LYV, bit of a convoluted story there. Back to you.
Tesla squeezing there. It'll be flat top break through 334. What's your look on that?
I mean, like I said, I'm looking at this 335 area. I find it interesting. The market is curling as well, so we have that market tailwind. I did try, like I said, a little bit of a short earlier, but keeping it pretty tight. I guess I essentially gave it too high a day there, but we're blasting through that, holding and sustaining that 335 as of right now. Let's throw on some moving averages because I know we've been talking about them a lot, but moving average right now, the 8 EMA on a 3-minute on Tesla is sitting at 334.35. So yeah, about 70, 80 pennies away from that. But 335s, let's see if we slow down here. If the market turns and we do more of this chop and we revisit the high of the range here on both the SPY and the NQ, I think that we're definitely poised for a little bit higher here. That can definitely add some tailwind to a lot of these names. All right, 999 coming right back here on Wolf. Let's see if we can hold. We talked about that 990 being a little bit of an area here. Let's see if it can effectively sustain this prior low. Prior low is at 992, and that opening range low is sitting at 991. So let's see if we can hold that with some more buying. Every time we've come into these prices since the open, we've caught a little bit of a bid. And yeah, even this aggressive selling down, we only bid up to 1020s, but a bid nonetheless off of that $10 mark. So let's see if we're going to get more of the same. On the 30-minute chart, you guys know I like to use multiple different time frames. 30-minute chart, and if you encompass some of the pre-market action as well, it's starting to look like we're getting a little weaker. Potential flat bottom break through this 990 area here, Sharif. But got to know bigger picture. This thing has been running for the past couple of days. There's definitely shorts that are underwater on this one. And if it can continue to hold some prices on lower volume, I think that we want to continue to look for those bigger picture, higher highs and higher lows on this Wolf as it continues to howl to the upside here. But yeah, where is the next trade? That's what I'm looking at. You were looking at that Cypher Mining small cap from earlier, Sharif. I really like that look. And we both looked at this and then we were like, okay, yeah, there's definitely a buyer on this one. Yeah. You just have to look at maybe like a 5-minute or even a 15-minute chart. You can see how consistent the buying has been. So just defining a little bit of a buyer. We've been selling. We sold off into earnings. Earnings high actually got taken out. Earnings day one high got taken out at $5.50 on Cypher Mining today. And you can see it's been doing relative volume for the past 2 days. I don't know if there's been any news on this one, but this is the thing. Someone always knows something. People are always kind of, positioning for things. And the follow through coming in today through that earnings day one reaction high, actually, that high was made in the pre-market, $5.50. Now we're currently trading at $6.09. So that is a significant move for a $5 to $6 stock here. So, 335 is a little bit of a struggle. Let's see if there's the market going to the high of the range there like we kind of talked about a few minutes ago. Let's see if that can follow through. Do sellers step back in? That aggressive push that we had coming in the first, I guess, this was 10:15. 10:15, that was an aggressive push, and we were like, oh boy, market's breaking out of highs. And oh boy, sellers step right back in, and we get a whole lot of nothing as we just chop around here on the market. So Tesla, I'm looking for those sellers to potentially step back in. No idea whether or not they will. We're in a pretty strong uptrend on the day. But yes, we are starting to get slightly overextended. But is it overextended enough? That's the question that I'm asking. Microsoft might be overextended to the downside as of right now. So let's take a quick look at that one and pull it up and see what I'm looking at here on Softy. Just take that off, MSFT. And yeah, okay, so a little bit of a bid coming in, but you can see it's been holding moving averages pretty well. It's been holding the downtrend pretty well. That prior bid got sold off, and this is the second bid that's coming in. So I always like to shout out to my boy Elliot. You guys know about Elliot waves. Sometimes probabilities change on the second and third wave, sometimes more significantly than others. So something to watch out for there as well. But as of right now, our boy Elliot's showing up for the second time on a low of 515.80 here on Softy on an aggressive sell-off, but definitely overextended. It's starting to get a little extended as we're pushing about a 1% to the downside from the opening price to the lows there, Sharif.
All right, guys. You've seen Trade the Pool here with us for a while now, and now Trade the Pool has created something very special just for you guys, a free ebook featuring 4 proven swing trading strategies from Trade the Pool's top funded traders. Inside, you'll see exactly how they approach the markets, how they manage risk, and what setups they rely on so you can learn and grow from what actually works, guys. Download it now by scanning that QR code on the screen or hitting the link in the description. All right, we're keeping an eye here on MB as it zigs and zags with $8. It's an 820 high. We've seen this one. It is awfully volatile, so be careful if you're trading it, but that $8 area is a staunchy little bugger that we can't really seem to shake. So let's see if we can get that squeeze through that $8 area. And if we do, what kind of continuity we get. Prior bar low is 717. So you're going to have to give this one all sorts of room if you're going to get into this area. The candle opened up at around 750. So we likely do have some buying at around that $0.50, but that's by no means guaranteed. Let's see if we can kind of get through that $8 area first and foremost before we even talk about anything else, right? Because that's this staunchy area that we can't really shake, even though, again, as I said, an 820 high. This other one we've got on CIFR looks like the buy program may have been turned off, at least for the moment, as it comes back down into that 610. So that higher high and higher low situation that we were putting in doesn't seem like it's in effect at the moment. So we'll have to keep tabs on that and see whether or not we can continue back up to the high side. But it's really my focus right now on MB as we look for that $8 break and take. It looks like there's a seller now at around 80s, 780 or so. Let's see if we can able to take out that 80 seller before we even talk about that $8. We currently still have a higher low on this candle, but by no means in the clear above that $8 area. So I didn't get that dip trade. True to form on the day, comes back into that 750, but doesn't cross, so we don't get the print. So we'll have to work out of the money on this one, but I am looking for this one to hold that 50 penny area, and if not, the trade ends on the break of the $0.25, well, because that's where the prior bar low is, OB. So that's what I'll be keeping my eye on.
Yeah, this $10 reload has been pretty nice here. Every time Wolf comes into that $10, like I said, it's continuing to do more of the same, but doing it with lower highs technically as of right now. So don't know if we're really setting up for that flat bottom, but again, something to remember is this is a multi-day runner. It is sitting pretty on the short side, short interest, and that is something to be wary about. You got to be careful, you know. You don't want to get bit on something that isn't really set up effectively for a short, but. I like the short, to be honest, but the squeeze is something that we were talking about a little bit earlier. The thing with Wolf, though, it has a lot of shareage in terms of the float here. So let's pull it up real quick, WULF, and take a look at some of the stats here. So the market cap currently sitting at $3.92 billion. So not really technically a small cap. I think it may have been maybe a few months ago, maybe. But again, the shares float is sitting at almost 290 million shares. So the float being 290, definitely not necessarily a small cap. You definitely need a decent chunk of dollar volume to kind of move it around. And currently traded almost 93 million shares on the day and holding that $10 area. Lots of volume going in and around that $10 area. You can see even though the volume has been dwindling down, you can see that the price is still holding 10. So I like that. We talk about liquidity traps very often on the show, and it's something to watch out for here. Volume spike on Intel saying, Neil, all right, I got to take a look at that one. Oh boy. Yeah, got to be careful if you're looking short on that one. Squeezing and clipping about a 50% reversion of that prior day's sell-off from the high to the close right there, just within that wick. So absolutely crazy kind of stuff happening here. 335 trading back below on Tesla. Is the market pulling back? Not yet. Not yet. How much time is left for this 15-minute candle to print? 1 minute. All right, that's acceptable. Pull back a little bit when you close the 15. I don't mind. But let's see if it continues to hold trend. It's starting to curl a little bit here on shorter time frames, but I'm looking at, I guess, a 3-minute still holding well within the moving averages if I'm using that as of right now to define an uptrend. The 8 EMA on Tesla sitting at 334.74, so still sustaining above that. Market tailwind is definitely there. Do I really want to get short here? I don't know. I'm going to be a little bit more patient and maybe wait for the tape to talk to me. But that Intel swipe is absolutely crazy here. I really, really like that 25.5 short prior day on Intel. And it seems like when we ping some of those highs into 25, sellers are straight sitting there waiting for her to step right back in. That's what that price action is showing me here on Intel. Whether it's news or not, the volume and the price action will probably speak first after the tape. So.
I'm not seeing any news. I just wanted to let you guys. Oh, actually, just right now, it's come in. It's always funny how that happens. Apparently, Bloomberg now reporting that the Trump administration is said to discuss taking a 10% stake in Intel. Previously, we heard that the U.S. was maybe interested in taking a stake in Intel. Now, Bloomberg reporting that stake will apparently be 10%. Back to you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Look, Darrow. Yeah, 10%. It's good enough of an interest to own in a company. My kind of thesis is that he takes an ownership interest in Intel, the U.S. government, that is, and then they bully all the other chip manufacturers and companies to buy Intel chips.
Maybe, yeah.
Basically, under threat of the gun.
You want to support,
so to speak,
homegrown produce, and if Intel is going to produce some good chips in home, I think that's within range.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's like no reason why you would want to buy a company with no customers, and they don't have customers for any of their products, whether it's the 18 Intel.
Intel?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Intel. We just talked about it. Intel has processors in every single PC.
Yeah, but
every
that's
single
not what
laptop.
moves the needle.
No, I understand.
So what moves the needle now is your AI server business. Euphemism is data centers. So what they're trying to work on is something called an 18A process, which is akin to 3 nanometer.
Okay.
And then they have another one called the 14A, which is akin to 2 nanometer. Neither of which do they have buyers for.
Really?
And that's why the Ohio plant is on the fritz, not being built, and that's why they've canceled the 2 plants that they have in Europe. You got no buyers. So if I'm Donald and I'm taking a 10% stake in a company, what's the first thing that you're doing? You're looking for buyers.
Encouraging people to buy some of those.
So that's my kind of bias on that.
So where does Intel make? I mean, I don't know what their fundamentals are. Where do they make most of their money right now? That's the question I'm asking, because
they don't make any
looks
money.
Undervalued. They don't make any money?
No, they lose money. They've been losing money for about a year or so. They're actually negative now, EPS, right? It's kind of like Boeing, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I'd like to see how this whole thing unfolds, right? Like, what's his move here? That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. No, I think the shake and bake was pretty clear.
Yeah.
The price action kind of sold off. We're bidding up and holding higher structure on the confirmation as well. Is this sell the news? I don't know, because Intel's been in such an aggressive downtrend. This might actually be buy the news event.
It's a good catalyst.
So
I don't even want anybody to think that I'm trying to say this is a bad catalyst. Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, what's the play here? Like, he takes a 10% cut, and then that's the end of the matter? Do we not do any more analysis? No, to me, like, that's where the analysis just starts. Right, so what's the play after that? Okay, so they get cash, right, so they can continue construction on the Ohio foundry. Okay, fantastic. But they only put the Ohio foundry on pause, the construction of it, that is, because they didn't have any customers to buy the chips that were going to be made by the Ohio foundry. So then, to me, what could just be the natural move? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the chat about this, because that was something that I was pondering. Just to see if it would be a good investment vehicle possibly to take for this whole Donald Trump setup. But, I'm not really convinced about it quite yet, to be honest. So, in any event.
I asked Perplexity to give me a breakdown of Intel revenue, where they make most of their money, right?
Revenue and profit are two different things.
Oh, no, of course. You're saying that they're not profitable. I understand that, but the question becomes like, where do they actually make what they're making right now? Where does it come from? Right? So like client computing. We talked about that. It's like that's the largest segment. That's their biggest segment. Provides CPUs and solutions for PCs, laptops, and home computing devices. And then the second one, coming in at $18 billion, are foundry services. The third one, data center and AI, coming in just shy of $15 billion. And then network and edge, Internet of Things. So I also asked it, how much are they spending on R&D in terms of the whole AI hype and development right now? I haven't really gotten there just yet, but heavily focused. Totaled nearly $3.7 billion in Q2 of 2025. So relative to their revenue on other things, they're not spending that much money. They're not spending that much money on the development, which okay, cool.
Because they're building foundries, brother. But I really want to say one thing, though. I had something specifically to say about Intel, about that issue. It slipped my mind, but that's all good. It'll come back to me. So anyway, we'll see what Intel has to offer, but I think it might be a good move here for the company going into the future if they can get some buyers. All right, guys, let's get back to the current price action. CIFR, the only trade I'm really focusing on right now, looking to take out the top over here. We just wet the beak at 18s, setting up some orders above that high of the day at 21s. And 22s. Let's see if this one wants to catch a bounce. SNGX, another one that we've been involved with all day long, coming back in to the volume weighted average price. And this is that 480 area that we were talking about. So I'm getting long over here with a break of 460 getting me out of the trade. So here we go. Let's just punch. There we go. Let's see if this one can work its way up into some advantageous levels. We'll set some beak wetters there in the low to mid high 90s and see what we can get. SNGX, VWAP retracement. Also, I perceive this to be a good key area of support, given that it kind of double topped over here initially and we couldn't get through that level. Right now, we're working back into 88s, but there's a seller at 87 kind of preventing us from ascending. So we'll have to pack our patience and see if we can get some prints there to the high side. Now showing me 90s. Let's see if we can squeeze into the 90 area. Yeah, that's all I've got, Ob. I mean, CIFR has been okay. SNGX at a good level over here, but by no means guaranteed of a trade. But, you know, trying to put the odds in our favor. I guess that's kind of what trading's about.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I have to agree with you on that one. Gotta be able to interpret all the information to kind of assess the changing probabilities and make sure they're on your side, right? Market's taking a little bit of a pullback. That Intel shake and bake that we just got, getting sold off pretty aggressively, so sellers stepping right back in. Day low incoming, only about 20 pennies away at 23.34, currently trading at the halves. And oh boy, let's see if this market kind of starts to turn. I know I was watching that Tesla didn't get in a perfect entry, but we failed to follow through on that 335. And now, remember, I was like, market tailwind not on our side for the Tesla short. Guess what? The market tailwind is definitely on our side right now as we push back into consolidation lows on both the ES and the Nasdaq. It's always nice to have a little bit of that tailwind, especially in and around an area that you're already looking to conduct business in. Let's see how far Tesla can get. VWAP is all the way down at 332 halves, currently trading below 334s on Tesla. Are there any prior bar breaks? Maybe, sure, on a 15-minute. But let's see if we can catch a little bit of the backside here. VWAP has been where buyers have been, Sharif, pretty much all day long. Let's see if they recharge on top of VWAP here on Tesla. I have no idea, but oh boy. Okay, so Wolf coming back in at $10. This is a little consolidative. Market's taking a little bit of a dump as well. You know what? I think I might have stayed my welcome in this one a little too long, but my stop is not that far away here on Wolf, so I'm going to be a little bit patient. Okay. And you know what? Let it clip. Like I said before, I've already gotten out of over 90% of this position from 999s earlier in the teens and I guess not really the 20s, because that's what I was looking for. I was posted all throughout some of the 20s and the 30s for just above these prior highs in case we swiped up here. But yeah, that didn't really happen. And it seems like my stop's about to get taken out here as we trade a little bit lower. That consolidation low sitting at $9.90. Let's see if we can take a little bit of a reload here on Wolf. But yeah, that Tesla's coming in pretty nicely. Let's see if we can print triple threes, or do we technically make a higher low? This is still kind of within trend. Let me just draw a rudimentary trend line right here. Oh boy, I did not want to do that. Okay, so this, all right, so let's see if we can kind of move this around. There we go, right here. So yeah, trend break happening now on Tesla. So all the confirmation traders may be looking at it now for a bit of a short on the trend break here through 334s. Let's see if it actually breaks down. What's going on, Adair?
Man.
Yeah, I have a little bit more context here for this Intel report. So again, Bloomberg reporting that apparently the Trump administration is in talks to take a 10% stake in Intel. That would actually make the U.S. the largest shareholder of Intel. But it's worth noting, too, apparently this report also discusses that the U.S. is considering converting Intel's CHIPS Act grants into equity. We'd previously heard in the reports about this potential U.S. stake in Intel going back to last week that the CHIPS Act money would be involved somehow. Apparently it's going to be involved potentially because the administration is considering converting this Intel CHIPS Act grant money into equity. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Dara. All right, it's 12:40. We'll start the news in about 5 minutes or so, guys. There's another one, TNYA, that I've been keeping my eye on. I've said very little about it because it really hasn't been doing much, but it did get a price spike up at around midday. It did drop into a predictable area. I'm talking about that $1.30 area. Now, what I perceive this one to be, this one's a bit of a slower mover. As you can see, not much in the way of price action. But what it does have for it here is good consistency with these higher lows and higher highs. So a bit of an upward channel where it finds support predictably at about the volume weighted average price, which currently showing me 131. It's printing 132s currently. So we'll see what this one ends up doing. Right back down here, it looks like into 130. We'll see if we can get in and then take some out for prior bar low right below that 125 area. So I'm gonna weasel into this one, something smaller, something that I can kind of manage while we're doing the news, and we'll give this one to 125. So if it breaks down that area, it breaks down, and that's kind of the end of the trade there. So
yeah,
give that the look there.
As well, man.
Yeah, well, you know how this one is, kind of the march to the beat of their own drum a little bit.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those things will do exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
They're not going to care what the market's doing.
No. Yeah, I've seen this before where the market's tanking and these ones are
just start running. And yeah, exactly, because it's like the participants that are involved in those names tend not to care about what the rest of the market's doing. There's an other underlying pressure usually happening, like short stock or like longs holding the bag, and that pain can be a little bit more pressing than the market tailwind for sure. So that definitely outweighs a lot of market sentiment. But sometimes, if the market has an aggressive, crazy move, sometimes you do see a little bit of a push, but no, absolutely not. You can see the examples of some of these squeezers, right? When they happen, you can see them clearly just doing their own thing. So it's a beautiful thing. Oh boy, Intel with a little bit of a push back through its day lows there. That's happening right here. You can see that this is a 3 minute. Yeah, okay. So nice little wipe back up. So this was a beautiful flush through the day low, but a false break technically as of right now of day lows on Intel. So that news coming in hot and heavy. So okay, so we got a few super chats. Thank you, Andre, for that. Let's check out some of these super chats. All right, what do you think about Zeta? Let's do this one by one. All right, so Kick. Sorry about that. He super chatted multiple times here. Let's take a look at ZETA right now, Sharif, and take a little bit of a look.
Sounds good.
I think this is a small cap, no? If I remember correctly.
You want me to have a look at it?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Let's have a look at ZETA or ZETA for my American friends out there. What do we got? Okay, so a bit more expensive of a name. It's not a small cap in the strict sense. That's okay. We'll have a look at it anyway. It's 4 2/3 billion, just hovering below that $0.75 area. Let's look at the wider time frame. So that's the 15. This one's had some outsized days as of late. I'm talking about that August 5th. I'm talking about August 6th. Fantastic moves. Looks like in the aftermarket there on the 5th. So likely an earnings winner on that day. Otherwise, the catalyst came in a little bit late. And then an earnings day 2 or a continuation play day 2 on the 6th. We sell off a little bit But if we were to look at the percentage retracement from the breakout area and the area low, I think we've held quite well. And the way you do that is you can use your fibs. So you use your Fibonacci's, right? And then you drag all the way into the area high. And then lo and behold, look at that. We're holding that 50% retracement from the breakout area to the area high. So this double bottom over here on the 12th and the 14th end up holding the 50% retracement. So not bad. Gives us an idea, at least, of what some technicals are. Alas, today, we're putting in another good day after having a good day Friday as well, after several, consolidative sell-off days. 977 high. Let's flip now to the 5-minute and see how to work in. Well, first things first, what I can see offhand is that there's very little, if any, respect for the 10 EMA moving average on the 5. It seems to be a 20 moving average retracement respect. So you have that initial pullback, 1130 holds generally the 20. You have another pullback here, 1210, 1215, holds the 20 and up it goes again. It does seem like a possible flat top break candidate through 1975. Now the flat top doesn't have to come in the same way as we get flat top breakouts on the small caps, like a breakout, an explosive breakout where a lot of people end up getting stopped out who are short. But it could be one of those ones where we see that 1975 get taken tomorrow, or we close out near 1975 today and we end up holding 1975 in the pre-market tomorrow or in the implied balance low. So keep your eye out on that, but it looks fantastic. If you're looking to pick it up today, intraday, I'm looking at the 20. Otherwise, I'm looking for continuation above that 1975. I think that would be a good look there. We'll have to see how that all works out. I'm just quickly looking back over here on TNYA, as we did take a long in this one at the volume weighted average price. And it's okay, not too bad. Looking good so far. We'll wet the beak over here as well. And we'll throw some more orders at 34 to see if we can get anything around there. Do we have another?
We got one more. Yeah, we got one more. So PGH Emir, thank you, welcome to Trader TV. I think that's a new subscriber there, so thank you for doing that. And Merch Ulgy. MRCHULYG. All right, that's definitely difficult to pronounce, but thank you for the super chat here. Bought UPST options expiring 9/19 last week, but as of now down 50% with the time decay. I guess cut loss and move on or wait on it, question mark. I mean, that might be a question for Joey options here, but yeah, that time decay is definitely something you want to, timing on the options is definitely a little bit of a finesse. And let's take a quick look at
what your friend Ram just sent me?
What?
You see what your friend Ram just sent me?
What's she sending?
Bro, she's such a hater on Sydney Sweeney. I don't know why. Like, look what she said.
I mean, I think
that's
just a lot of women in general.
A
lot of women in general hate on Sydney Sweeney, and I think it's very, it's understandable.
I don't think they hate. I think that they have justifiable. Adara, look, you gave me your dissertation on Thursday. I believe everything you said. But Adara, I don't know if you want to get to this on the news. You were factual, and I got to give you credit. You were absolutely factual. But your selection of facts, Adara.
Well, I select the facts I have, and I will say as well, I said to you, and I'll say this again, I think she's an excellent actress. I think her Emmy nomination.
You only said that after Andre said it.
I would have said it regardless. I was just trying to start here with the dissertation.
Boy.
I will say I have nothing against her except for the one thing I did say to you, which there was a bit of hypocrisy. But beyond that, I think she's talented, and I'm not going to hate. But Jerome Powell does look great in those jeans.
He does. Yeah, get it, Jerome. If you want to wear that Canadian tuxedo, have at it, baby. Get it, Jerome.
So
all right,
we were looking at that upstart.
Yeah, what were we looking at?
For the super chat there. So
my bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Again, I can understand how distracting some of that Sweeney stuff can be. It's very understandable. It's okay. It's well worth derailing off of some of that, and it's perfectly fine. So upstart, you were saying you got options expiry bought you. So I guess I'm gonna assume that you got calls last week, and yeah, it's been doing absolutely nothing. So some of that premium definitely decaying if it's not really making any significant moves. But I don't know. Maybe you got to ask Joey Options when he's in tomorrow that question and see whether or not. But the thing is, man, if you're asking us, that means you probably didn't have a plan to begin with, and that's probably where you want to focus on a little bit more. Having the plan, having a full plan where you're not really asking others what you're looking to do before you even get in the trade. So you have a set structure, and if you're looking for opinions, I think that's a little bit different. But trading sideways on Upstart after a strong flush, higher time frame, this thing has been, I'm pretty sure, trading downside here in a bigger picture downtrend. There it is, post-earnings flush, bit of a break of trend on a higher time frame here as well. I don't know if I have any, there you go, right there. So some anchored VWAPs from this prior earning high right there. You can probably throw on an anchored here as well to kind of give you a sense of who's in charge on the shorter term frame. So you can see here, beautiful hold of that anchored VWAP from earnings. You can see every time we try to push into that anchored VWAP, which is currently sitting at 67.70s, we get a strong sell-off every single time. So unless and until that changes, that doesn't really tell me much other than sellers are definitely in charge in the shorter term on this name. Now, sure, you can argue that this anchored kind of shows us that maybe buyers are in charge all the way from averages that are totaling from much earlier. But I always like to take a look at a shorter time frame as well. In the most recent earnings report, anchoreds might weigh a little bit heavier and more significantly for me on something like Upstart. So that's my input on that. Whether or not you should buy or sell your options, I have no clue, and nor am I gonna, I guess, suggest anything of the sort, because that's way above my pay grade. I don't do the financial advice. So.
All right. Let's do the news now. Let's get to it. We'll start with crypto. Let's see where crypto's at. We're still, we're definitely down a bit. We're not at 115 anymore. It looks like we've worked our way back above 116 on Bitcoin and around 4,300 on ETH. Let's talk about how they did. So as we know, over the weekend, crypto markets tumbled. Well, they started tumbling before the weekend after a hotter than expected July wholesale inflation data. I'm talking about PPI. Which raised some doubts, according to this article, over the Fed rate cut in September, or the depth or the size, I should say, of the rate cut that we're to expect. You had Bitcoin dropping 115,200 after printing a record last week of just shy of 125,000. According to this exchange, it came to $124,496 with an intraday low, in fact, of 114,706. So wow, a $10,000 range there. But the range is going to expand, I'll submit to you guys, as the price goes up. It's not going to be a $5,000 or $10,000 range. It's going to be bigger. The price is bigger. ETH also dropped 4% to 4,200 after nearing its all-time high last week as well of 4,800. OB, tell them what you have there.
All right, so guys, VinFast delivered over 35,000 EVs in Q2 of 2025. That marks over 172% jump from last year. That brings our first half total to more than 72,000 EVs, and that is up over 200% year over year. With stronger sales, usually in the second half, they're on pace to easily double 2024's 97,000 units. They're also crushing it on two-wheelers. Nearly 70,000 e-scooters and bikes sold in Q2, up over 400% from a year ago. And with gas-powered two-wheelers being passed out in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City by 2026, the growth potential looks huge. You can find them on the Nasdaq under the ticker VFS. So check out our friends at VinFast there, should be.
All right, guys, let's keep going over here. So more than $552.5 million in positions were liquidated across crypto in 24-hour period, involving, this is the first time I see this data point, the amount of traders that were involved in that liquidation. 131,500 traders were involved in that more than $500 million liquidation. It includes $123 million in Bitcoin longs that were liquidated and $178 $78 million ETH longs that were liquidated. That's the first time, at least for me, that I'm seeing more ETH liquidations notionally in a dollar value than BTC. It's being blamed here on some profit taking as well as margin calls. If you're buying that on margin, you know if it goes against you, you're going to get that notification on your phone or call or whatever the hell is happening these days, which obviously accelerates a downturn and the downward pressure on the price. You even had Scotty B, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, clarified, in fact, in an interview, that the strategic Bitcoin reserve, the one that we've been talking about for, I don't know, since the election or maybe even before, it's going to only rely, guys, on Bitcoin that's seized by the U.S. government, and they're going to put it in there. They're not actually going to deploy any new money to pick up BTC. That's got to be a bit of a headwind. I think the market probably, at least the bulls, were pricing in likely some new government money going into BTC. That is not the case, according to Scotty B. So the disappointment among the bulls, who expected sovereign accumulation, aggressive sovereign accumulation, we're not going to get that, at least not yet, at least not from this government. Despite the Friday outflows, though, ETFs logged strong weekly inflows. So if you look at the bigger picture, it's still a little bit more rosy. BTC saw about $550 million in net new money on the week, not on the day, on the week. So if you look last week as a whole, more money came in to BTC than left it, ETH as well. This is eye-watering. A record $2.9 billion in net inflows to Ethereum, way overshadowing. I haven't seen this in a while, OB. BTC's net new inflows of 547, so just shy of $3 billion new dollars net longs came into ETH last week, a record week, and 14th straight week for ETH of inflows. Institutional demand remains strong, providing structural support despite, OB, some near-term volatility. What is your look here on? Take your pick, man. You want the coin?
Why don't we just take a look at Ethereum itself? Because I think that's what I've been doing, that's what I like doing, and I feel a little comfortable. I guess just looking back at charts that I'm familiar with, right? So, oh boy, what was that? A little bit of a swipe down. Did the market do anything? No, that's just Tesla doing its thing. All right, cool. We'll let that one kind of do its thing, and we'll take a look at Ethereum. So right here, I have this on a 3-hour chart. And you can see a little bit of a pullback, still well within range for the uptrend here. We made that consolidation. We kind of look like we broke down this trend up, happening underneath that 4,000 level. We bounce off the 34s. But everything that this chart tells me is this is a very healthy step up, right? We can see how it steps up. We do get aggressive on some of the selling, but overall we do make higher lows. So this one I'm taking a little bit more of a look, a little bit of a closer look at the monthly chart here, Sharif. And the monthly chart will kick out a lot of that noise that might be happening on shorter time frames. And you can see the monthly chart is technically still breaking out above 4,100. I think if we get back into this area, let's see if we can sustain above 3,750, 375s. If we can sustain above 375s, I like that. But something to remember is the range is all the way down to 1,600, which is, you can see, it wicks out the structure lows before it runs, and it tends to do this every single time. And that's, I think, a little bit of a property of Bitcoin. It almost always, grabs liquidity before making the move. And if you see that grab in liquidity, I think that makes the move even stronger once we reclaim some of those highs. So you can see here, we attempt to break these lows at 21. We do go about almost $1,000 lower, but we hold above this. So right here, lick grab of this consolidation low. Right. That was a double top, so definitely shorts are getting a little, excited for this breakdown, and that breakdown fails to follow through. And guess what? Back into the range, now rips straight up to the high of the range and breaks out. So the question becomes, given this information after the prior highs in 2021, what is the probability that we push a little bit higher? If not, I'm not saying we're going to totally break out and push, but the probabilities are definitely stacking on our side, especially as it steps up and shows us healthy price action for the buyers stepping up. So that's how I'm seeing this price action. That's just my opinion on how I'm interpreting the chart, but the stair step up is really nice. And we see that Bitcoin's also taking a little bit of a pullback as well. And we always talk about how money moves in and out of Bitcoin and then goes on to ETH, and then you start getting moves in some of the smaller altcoins as well. So we're seeing a little bit of that sentiment follow through here on ETH. So that's my look. I like the monthly on it. The shorter time frames, you can definitely get chopped up on it pretty aggressively. I think bigger time frames are a good look on, especially on assets and vehicles that trade 24/7. I think you want to encapsulate a lot of that data. So.
Adira, were you as surprised as I was about this Scotty B thing, kind of putting in the kibosh on any net new money? Like, I know we had reported on this earlier in the year that they weren't going to throw in new money, so they wouldn't have to go through Congress, right, to get earmarked new money, but they were going to look for a net zero way to add new money, whether or not it was funneling money that had already been earmarked for one thing into this so that there wouldn't be any net new spending. But that's not what Scotty B's saying. He's just basically, it's forfeitures and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised, but also, Sharif, it's not that shocking when you consider we've gone a really long time without them updating us on the crypto reserve. Oh, we're going to get updates on the Bitcoin reserve, and then we never get updates. So what I want to talk about here, Sharif, is the potential ramifications. I want to talk about an individual by the name of Bernie Moreno. Bernie Moreno is, in my opinion, one of the most entertaining senators to watch when it comes to any of these hearings. This man is quite the character, but also he's relevant to this conversation because Sharif and Obi and audience, did you guys know that his election was largely due to funding from pro-crypto causes? He was a blockchain entrepreneur, and he defeated the incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown, who's actually very anti-crypto. So this was a huge, huge election. Obviously, there were a lot of, I guess, miniature races within the states that were notable for crypto, but this one was touted as by far the biggest victory for the crypto lobbyists. $40 million was spent on this election. They got the result they wanted. They defeated the three-time incumbent. And again, Bernie Moreno is quite entertaining to watch, so it is what it is. But, Sharif, what happens now if we're seeing all of these lobbyists funnel all of this money into often Republican pro-crypto politicians? What happens when they're noticing they're not getting these results? And that's not the fault of any of these individual politicians, but if they're noticing the party isn't giving them what they want, do they start funneling this money elsewhere? This could actually be really interesting, and this could hurt President Donald Trump as well, because we know that the majority within, I guess, the Senate and the Congress is pretty narrow. So I apologize, guys, for taking a very political spin on this, but I actually do think the ramifications could be massive, and I did want to talk about our friend Bernie Moreno.
So what I think you're saying, Adira, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this money is going to be funneled into the America Party?
I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that.
I know you're not.
The administration, should be careful, or maybe those crypto won't be calling them on their cell phones anymore.
Obviously, a dig at Donald on the Saturday Night Live. Thank you for that, Adira. That was a good little way to end that segment. Let's keep the focus here, guys, on crypto and let you know, the Winklevoss twins, no, they're not back. Oh, yes, they are. They're coming with an IPO. So Gemini, I have mixed feelings about this name, just given, my own sun side and the crap that Google puts us to use every day. It's still filtering political stuff. It still tells me it can't review a certain article because it's too political. Hello. Anyway, Gemini, led by Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, filed for an IPO at the SEC on August 15th, not that long ago. The company posted, they don't make any money, a net loss of $282.5 million for the first half of this year. A lot is being made about the money tied up to the IPO and maybe why that they are negative on the year, widening sharply from the $41.1 million they lost a year earlier. So that net loss widened substantially. Revenues also fell. Not sure why they're falling here, to $67.9 million versus the $73.5 million that they made in 2024, really showing pressure despite industry momentum. So not even sure why they're coming to market if they can't make any revenue or if their revenue is declining. In any event, Gemini's move follows Circle's $1.2 billion IPO in June and Bullish's $1.1 billion raise just last week. These listings highlighted, obviously, the increased mainstream acceptance of digital assets and the wider bull market in the IPO. In the IPO market, I should say, at large. Market watchers call this a new phase of crypto adoption, with IPOs signaling cultural and financial integration in traditional markets. Gemini is not without controversy, so whatever controversy is assigned to the Winklevoss twins, Gemini itself had some controversy. They previously faced SEC charges in 2023 for selling unregistered securities, but the case got dropped earlier this year. That's likely as a result of the Biden-era SEC and their witch hunt after crypto and the debanking and all that good stuff that Joe Biden brought with his amazing administration. The firm also paid $5 million to settle a CFTC allegation over misleading conduct tied to its Bitcoin futures application. So they have had their fair share of controversies, but once the new administration came in, those controversies seem to go away. Blue chip banks are also now underwriting this IPO, signaling growing the embrace of the sector, and retail investors have also piled in, OB, driving demand for offerings like Circle and Bullish, as we saw last week.
Yeah, no, I think sorry, I missed out. What stock are we talking about specifically?
It's not a stock. We're just talking about the IPO. It's Gemini. You want to take a look at maybe Bullish or Circle to kind of gauge the,
like the IPO sentiment, right? Yeah, for sure. So IPO season has been absolutely crazy, right? So there's so much euphoria around a lot of these larger notional IPOs that have been coming around, and the most recent one was I guess MIAX, but MIAX wasn't necessarily notionally huge, but BLSH definitely was on this one, and you can see back-to-back jacks on the selling that's been happening, and oh boy, a little bit of a crack of that 68 mark coming in right off of the open. So beautiful downtrend on this one. And you're right, there's a lot of significant underwriters and banks that have been holding some of these. And something like FIGMA, we saw was a solid IPO, one of the best ones of this year, in my opinion. But you can see we're overextended. And look at this, Sharif, building into a flat bottom break. So I think what's important for some of these IPOs is what was the IPO price initially. We know that they're oversubscribed. Right? I think the underwriters really only care about the IPO price. If they're going to defend a price, why would they defend something that's sitting at such a high premium? You know what I mean? So it's just like until those prices come in, then it's like, do we really look for a bid anywhere else?
Yeah, I got to agree that's fair. And the thing is, I feel the initial exuberance really centers around a lot of the crypto and AI IPOs. Whether or not they continue holding trend after, it really seems to be more stock specific than industry specific. You saw CoreWeave continue to trend for months and months and months. Circle as well was well received. Then we saw Webull completely turn after that, right? We saw Bullish completely turn. So it's kind of I don't want to say it's just one general rule for them all. I mean, because
it makes a lot of sense
independently. Yeah.
No, they're trading independently, but like there's so much hype around these. Everyone is trying to get long, and they think that because it's such, you get sold into the idea of the IPO being like they make money, they're oversubscribed. That has nothing to do with whether or not the price is going to trend up. No. Sure, you might get high probability volatility and moves off of the open on day 1 and day 2 and day 3, but that has nothing to do with up or down. You can see that, like, in my opinion, there's a lot of bags on a lot of these IPOs, and it's only, like, it's seller dominant. Like, this is Figma. Like, what about Circle? Circle did run. Circle was one of the ones that did run, but take a look at this. We're on the backside of the move.
We are.
I know people who shorted that 300 who are still sitting in this and being like, I don't want to cover for the next few months.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? So it's like once you get that blow off top action, which was textbook on Circle underneath 300, sure, it wasn't that clean, but the backside was very textbook, and the failure to follow through of 250 was very textbook. We've only been continuing, so you got to understand, once we get into some of these support levels, it's pretty much a lot of longs that are potentially offside. If we start breaking some of these trends, then yeah, sure, maybe you want to get into the other side of it. What's another one? CoreWeave. I know I've been on this one pretty aggressively recently.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, selling off pretty nicely. You can see a higher time frame. We're pretty much on the backside of the move. We failed to follow through 150 here. So when we start to push into the backside and any sort of bid starts to fail key levels and key psychological levels, key structural levels, I think we just have to sit down and listen to what the market is trying to tell us. And a lot of these oversubscribed IPOs, it's oversubscribed on the long side. You like understand how the float mechanics are happening there. So it's like I do like the short on a lot of these. Whether or not the execution comes in cleanly on a day-to-day basis is a whole different story. The swing shorts on these have been absolutely solid. So shout out to anybody who's been playing that playbook.
Before we bring in Adara, guys, SERV is breaking out. I saw you guys say there's news in the chat. I don't see news, but there. Thank you, Adara. 10:02 we were trading, and now we're trading into 10:39. So it's breaking out right now, and it's continuing to go. 10:41 now. 2 5-minute candles here with higher highs and higher lows, and volume to support them. So this current candle has 300,000 shares a pop, and it's got 3 more minutes here to trade according to my watch. So 7% in the clear here on SERV. No idea why this is breaking out, but we'll keep you guys updated. I don't want to take too much of your attention, Adara. I know you're looking for SERV trade. You got something, or so we'll go to Adara and then we'll get her comments on this next issue.
Well, yeah, I can comment on both because the serve news isn't, I mean, unless there's anything new that I'm missing, this came out pre-market. I'm going to look to see if there's an update, but this morning they announced they are acquiring Value Robotics for 1.75 million shares, an earnout of 560,000, and 4 million warrants to advance their AI navigation. That is the only news I have here in SCRV. I'll look further after this, but I'll opine quickly here on the Winklevoss twins and co, because I don't have too much to say. These are the Winklevoss twins. Yeah, the GEMI ticker is a little bit odd for this Gemini IPO. We'll have to see how it goes. I don't really have too many opinions on this going into it, but I will say one thing as well. I want to compare. I know Obi did a little bit of this, so I'm not going to say too much, but if you look at CoreWeave and Circle versus Bullish and FIGMA, and there were other IPOs in between, but those in my opinion were the 4 largest that we've had in recent months. So CoreWeave and Circle, both, yes, they did sell off at some points, but they had massive, really, really carefully watched giant pushes to the upside, significant pushes to the upside for both, right? I want to put that out there. Bullish and FIGMA. Now, day one was very strong, especially for FIGMA, slightly less so for Bullish, but after that, they almost immediately started selling off, right? So we're seeing, A, I think these less sustained moves, and B, the moves are giving up a lot faster. So what kind of environment does that spell for names like Gemini? I'm not quite sure, but the fact that this trend is starting to, I think, sour for these IPOs reactions, specifically in the couple days after the IPOs, that could maybe be not so good of a look for these twins here. It's my opinion.
I want to put this question to you before we went to you. So we saw in the last couple of IPOs a lot of accusations being levied against the underwriters, so the institutional banks, JP Morgan, Goldman, the underwriters, for leaving money on the table and for making money for their insiders by having an artificially low IPO price only to open 2, 3, 4 times what they had actually IPO'd for. Do you think we kind of see maybe a little bit of a change this time around because the market's kind of wise to this whole little scheme now? We're going to have more, I guess my question is, do you foresee more participation at the IPO price, therefore driving a higher initial open? Kind of, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't know enough about this, I think, to opine. I will say that the pattern that I saw was Bullish did basically the same thing as we saw with FIGMA, Circle, and CoreWeave, where it did open higher. So in my opinion, just like with trading and with trends, I'm going to continue to follow the trend unless the trend changes. I'm going to wait and see what the next IPO does. But in Sharif, in my opinion, there's no reason for me to really expect things to change.
Fair enough. Good point, Adara. I would have to agree with that. Sorry, Assassino, were you saying something? Ad read, absolutely. Okay, no, I can do it, no problem. All right, guys, we doing Woman Boss? All right. In Africa, a new generation of leaders is rising. The Woman Boss empowers them. We provide the training and mentorship women and girls need to start businesses, create change, and build sustainable futures. We've already impacted over 10,000 lives. Your contribution creates the next opportunity. Scan the QR code now. Empower the next woman leader today. Thank you very much for that ad. Let's go on to the next story over here. So Gemini, possible IPO. Let's go on and talk about Nvidia and AMD. So it looks like Donald Trump's deal with Nvidia and AMD to get 15% of their Chinese revenue is gaining is garnering some eyes there in the Senate that are not too happy about it. So he did approve the H20 to be sold to China, as well as the AMD's MI308. He's also mulling over a downgraded or scaled back version of Blackwell to also be sold. But 6 senators Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, Senator Warren, Senator Warner. They're all demanding reversals by Donald Trump of this policy, citing national security risks. The senators want a detailed response from the administration by August 22nd as to the national security issues that they say are faced by the country. Lawmakers warn that the AI chips like the H20 and the MI308 could aid China's military. Nvidia, for their part, they argue strongly against that, saying that there's really no military use for the H20. And the ban, a Chinese ban that is, would cost taxpayers billions and weaken U.S. AI leadership worldwide. AMD, for their part, hasn't commented at all. This comment was from Nvidia for the H20. The White House, for their part, dismisses the Senate criticism, calling Democrats late on China tech controls. But for China, they may not even want these chips. We saw this report last week out of China that the Chinese regulator was really coming down hard on Alibaba, ByteDance, DeepSeek, Tencent. They don't want them using the H20 when it comes to issues of national security or for really sensitive IP proprietary matters that they're developing that's not currently being developed in the West. Regulators, as I mentioned, told ByteDance and others to suspend Nvidia purchases pending a review by the government of the sort of alleged backdoors or cutoff switches that they're saying Nvidia is putting onto these chips. Demand risk looms even with U.S. approval, Obi. So Nvidia, as you were pointing out to me this morning, hanging out near those highs, 180-ish area. What's your look here?
No, I think that's important to point out. Until a lot of these things start to kind of get out of the, however you want to call it, the fog of confusion, you can see NVIDIA has just been consolidating pretty sideways here, 184s to 170s. So it's almost as if the market is telling us it's just waiting for some confirmation, waiting for some sort of something to break this range that we're just kind of consolidating, being a little indecisive in and around. And I think we have breaking news with Adara right now.
Yeah, we have the arrival here of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He is standing with Donald Trump. Trump was just kind of standing outside the White House waiting for him, but now he's arrived. They are having their arm around one another. They've entered the White House, so hopefully this bilateral meeting will start soon. Usually it starts pretty briefly after the leaders have greeted one another, so we're set to have the bilateral meeting start at 1:15. It's currently 1:14, so hopefully it will be soon. Trump was asked for his message to the Ukraine, and he said, quote, "We love them." So we'll have to see how this meeting goes. Once we kind of transition the video coverage and footage into the White House, I'll let you guys know. Apologies for cutting you guys off. Back to you.
Is he still wearing a T-shirt?
I'm pretty sure he was very adamant about.
Okay, I can't wait to hear that. Thank you, Adair, for that. And thank you for leaving us in suspense so we have something to get to. That's what I do. All right. Adair, were you done your analysis of NVIDIA?
I mean,
go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Just more of the same. I'm just like, okay, well, let's wait for some strong news to actually come out and be like, all right, what are we doing with China? What are we doing with some of these chip bans and I guess uncertainty for some of these sales, right? And I think this consolidation kind of speaks for itself. We're kind of waiting, but bigger picture, NVIDIA's been trending up pretty nicely. Like this is still a very AI-driven market, right?
It is, yeah.
And it has not broken down just yet. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, AI bubble, this, that, and the other. Sure, 100%, we're overextended. But the question is, like, you don't want to be jumping the gun and calling, literally calling wolf when the backside isn't even there.
No.
You know what I mean? Sure, we're overextended. We're overextended. Trust me, I've been squeezed a lot of times to know that when things are overextended, they can stay overextended a lot longer than you can stay liquid. So, you have to be careful about that. But market tailwind is definitely there. Every dip gets bought up. Consolidations are very strong, and every push through has been great as well. And don't forget, the S&P 500, regardless of what the president says and attributes the all-time highs to, the S&P 500 on average hits all-time highs multiple times in a year, right? Okay. So it's that's something to keep into consideration, and know that NVIDIA is one of the market leaders as well. So if the futures are gonna catch a bid and print fresh highs, you have to ask yourself, is NVIDIA going to tag along, or has that story changed? If that story is fundamentally changed, then maybe we see a shift in market leaders, which, if you look at market cycles throughout the past, that's always happened.
Oh yeah.
Right.
For sure. It's going to be interesting to see if Nvidia...
There will be a backside.
I mean, it's just, yeah, for sure. But, you know, is it sustained? Because we saw the backside, obviously, after April. There were a couple of pullbacks as well. But they always seem to come out of them. I mean, and at the end...
Of course, yeah. That's what I mean, like a short-term backside. Like bigger picture, stocks only go up.
Exactly.
Right? So
well, that's kind of what I was trying to get at there. Adara, comments about this whole pushback from the Senate with respect to sales of these advanced AI chips in China?
Sharif, I feel like I say the same thing on this every time, so I don't want to repeat myself over and over, but I think there's a constant catch-22 here. We know the U.S. is, you know, they want the revenue, obviously, from the AMD and NVIDIA China sales, but they don't want to give too much away to China, whereas China doesn't trust the chips, and until someone resolves some of these issues, Sharif, I think we're just going to continue circling the drain. But one element I want to mention is this isn't really new. We've already had some lawmakers express some concerns about these NVIDIA and AMD China sales. So, yeah, I mean, this specific letter is new, but I guess the theme of this catalyst is not. So that's all I really have to say there with regards to the suit, because you would ask, is Zelensky wearing a suit? So there was apparently, actually, I was seeing some news stories earlier today. I didn't mention them because they weren't really relevant to the market, but now that we've seen him, I'll bring it up. He's wearing, as far as I can tell, a military suit, which is what we were expecting him to wear, because apparently the White House contacted his team and said, will he wear a suit?
I gotta see
so
this.
Apparently, the Ukrainian presidential designer did not realize this was a position, responded and said he will be wearing a military suit. So I don't know.
Like a military uniform?
Looks like, pardon? No, it's just like
military uniform.
It's like black.
The fatigue, the green fatigue. Okay.
It's black.
Black.
I don't know,
okay.
But
okay.
It looks to be resembling a suit, as far as I can tell, but he's like really short, and we saw him kind of behind a car, so I didn't see much. Trump kind of towered over him. Yeah.
All right. We'll see how this Oval Office meeting goes, Adaro. There's going to be a lot more people there. Just in case you guys are forgetting, get in, Adaro. Yeah, go ahead.
The meeting just started. Like literally right as I stopped there, they're sitting in the chairs. J.D. Vance is next to Trump. Marco Rubio is, I think, here as well. I think Wiles is there. So there will be some people. And I can't confirm Zelensky is wearing something very suit-like.
Hey, all right, I like it. Guys, and there's going to be a whole bunch of European leaders there. It's a who's who of presidents and prime ministers out of Europe. So hopefully we can get a deal done sooner rather than later and the killing can stop, okay? Let's talk about Jackson Hole this week. So that's what I guess there's not too much in terms of financial data this week, so it's going to be Jackson Hole that we focus our eyes on and our ears. And this date will always live like in infamy in my head, because I'll never forget what Jerome Powell did to the market in August of 22. We were recovering. We were making highs for almost the entire summer. Jackson Hole comes in. He says higher for longer. And we sold off from the middle of August all the way into October, late October. And that's where Meta actually made its $88 low, and then we know where Meta's almost at $800 now. So all eyes, as I said, will be on Jackson Hole this Friday as Fed Chair Jerome Powell delivers what could be, his final major speech, policy speech. Obviously, he's going to make a lot of different appearances at the FOMC up until May of 26. That's when his term expires. But a major policy speech, not FOMC related. This could be his last. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The market is assigning it an 85% probability for a 25 basis points cut in September. The symposium historically signals big policy shifts. Traders usually parse the tone for whether the cuts will be slow, steady, or front-loaded. So a lot will be made, and people will literally be, or not literally, figuratively hanging on his every word. The FOMC July minutes out on Wednesday as well could show why two governors last time around dissented and held rates back, or dissented on holding rates back, between 4.25 to 4.5. We know that Bowman and Waller both voted against the majority last time around. We also, as I mentioned, have a light data week in terms of financial data this week. Thursday's job claims and the service sector readings are the main macro reports on the week. Thin calendar. OB amplifies the Jackson Hole meeting. And again, Friday, your boy, Papa Powell, gets on the mic for the ones and twos.
It definitely should be interesting. I'm kind of looking at how the market has been doing on the weekly, kind of approaching this event. And at the end of the day, you have to remember, Powell is very clear cut, right? He's extremely data driven, and I think that I think that that's something to remember. And I think you pointed out.
I can't help it. You got your boy Zelensky.
He's in a suit.
Look,
He's in the black on
grumpy
black.
AF right now because they put him in a suit. He's like, where the hell is my green T-shirt, bro? Give me my green T-shirt. I don't want to sit in this crap.
Yeah, I think.
Get it.
Last time was a definitely. I guess it was a something show last time for sure, and I think I don't know. I didn't really follow it too much.
Yes.
But I don't remember. Did the markets react significantly off of the last one? Not too sure. I'm not
really,
too
'cause
sure.
nothing was different about
because
it.
there was no developments
No.
that really came
No.
out of it. But this one could be different. He did talk to Putin just over the weekend as well, and then now he's meeting with Zelensky. So let's see how that unfolds. But yeah, no, market's been trending pretty nicely since April. No idea if Jackson Hole is going to bring any sort of significant moves on this kind of price action here. I'm just looking at the Nasdaq futures as well, and the spot and the ES futures looking relatively similar as here as well. So let's just take a quick look at those. So very strong uptrends. If we get any sort of news, which is and the market starts to sell off, I think some of those trends that the market has been in since April is something to watch out for. But I have no idea if that's going to be a significant enough catalyst to bring in that kind of a move, especially in a crazy euphoric market where all we keep doing is buying up dips. And even if we do dip, chips with the dip seems like what's being served every single time.
Stonks only go up, Ob.
For now.
They don't. That's
our
not
lifetime
financial
for now,
advice,
yeah.
by the way. Adara, what are your expectations going to this week? As we mentioned, light economic data, a lot of eyes on Jackson Hole.
I mean, last time the market dropped pretty sharply during the Jackson Hole speech. It was on August 23rd. I think it ended around 10:45, 11 a.m. So it's usually pretty early in the morning. I'll certainly be covering that for you guys, that I can guarantee. Now, I want to mention as well here, there is Donald Trump and Zelensky. They're currently actually having the Q&A portion. It's the earliest I've ever seen it in the bilateral meeting. So if there's anything of note that comes out of that, I will let you know.
Thank you.
Really, though, nothing has been market related. It's all been related, understandably, I think, to the war. But I want to mention, too, really quickly, we don't have that many times to see Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Like, I want to mention one more time here, my time infographic that I spent way too long making. This is at 52 FOMC conferences, the tie color that was made, the daily gain and loss of the S&P 500, and the rate decision. So I haven't updated this. I think it's been about 2 FOMC meetings since I've updated it. Now, this is not necessarily related, of course, to the situation with the Jackson Hole Symposium. I haven't done one on the Jackson Hole reactions, though I certainly could. But I will say the point I'm trying to make here is Fed Chair Powell can move the market. He's someone that we watch very closely. As Obi mentioned, he's pretty charismatic. And I think furthermore, now that he's stepping down, this last Jackson Hole could be a pretty interesting one for his legacy. Will he drop the market once again like 2022? Will he give us a little mini crash like in 2024? And one thing I want to say as well, Sharif, is I'm dying to know more about these FOMC minutes on Wednesday because of those historic descends. We had 2 descends for the first time in 3 decades?
93, Adara.
Yeah, 93, so over 3 decades. So I want to see the details. I want to know why they descended. And it's worth noting, I think that rhetoric amongst the Fed has changed so much. We used to see them all in lockstep, really not seeing that anymore. A lot of them are really dovish. A lot of them are really hawkish. Some seem to be in the middle. It's really hard to read. And so I think with that in mind, I am so curious to see what the September vote brings on September 17th, especially if Stephen Moran, who was Trump's pick to take over Kugler's position, if he gets confirmed before then, fireworks, I suspect.
So 3 dissenting opinions the next time if we don't cut, which we're planned on cutting.
We'll see.
All right, sounds good. Let's talk about Novo Nordisk and their Wegovy win. So look, we know what these GLP-1s are used for, but I think we're just scratching the surface, and you'll hear why I think that in a second. So Novo Nordisk, ticker NVO, if you're not familiar with it, jumped nicely in the pre-market, 5.5%. Where is it up right now? Let's have a look. We're 5%, so we gave back a little bit. After the FDA granted accelerated approval for Wegovy in treating liver disease. Needn't tell you, obviously, that's a prevalent problem. Obi will get to that in a second as he knows about that stuff. The approval expands Wegovy's commercial reach, guys, beyond just obesity and diabetes. It adds another growth driver for that specific drug in the metabolic disease space. More on that in a second. The FDA approved Wegovy to treat metabolic dysfunction associated. Obi, help me out, Bo.
Where am I looking?
This one.
Steatohepatitis.
Thank you. Obi, what do I do without you, bro? Steatohepatitis. MASH, for sure. Obi, we're just going to call it MASH from now on. Yeah. In adults with moderate to advanced liver fibrosis, the condition affects an estimated 5% of all adults in the United States, highlighting, I should say, the large untapped treatment market. The therapy must be paired with reduced calorie diet and increased physical activity. Both are noble causes and noble goals. Wegovy now is the first GLP-1 drug approved for MASH, setting a strong competitive moat. It adds to Wegovy's obviously existing track record with both weight loss and diabetes, as well as the cardiovascular benefits that it has. My old man takes a different version of this for his cardiovascular health. It strengthens Novo's dominance in the GLP-1 space at a time when competitors are racing for new indications. And Obi, I just want to bring this to your attention. I have a cousin who suffers from substance abuse issues, mostly alcohol. And this is one of those conditions that's being spoken about now in the GLP-1s for alcohol addiction. You've got to assume if it does well with alcohol, we'll likely see it for substance abuse and in other categories as well. Point is to say, Ob, I don't think we've reached the top in terms of total addressable market.
No, absolutely not. I think whenever it's funny how drug development works. So drugs will initially be, released for one intent, and then over time you find out that, oh boy, you can be using them for multiple different things. I think Viagra is a great example of that. The initial use for Viagra was a cardiovascular drug, and they were like, oh boy, this has a little bit of a side effect, and then now it has a different use, right? So it's like, yeah, Wegovy's a great.
It brought their stock up, eh?
Oh yeah, definitely. There was definitely some sort of a rise in that stock there over time. I think Pfizer being the drug manufacturer for that one there. But no, I think for steatohepatitis, I think it's great for drug addiction. I think that's a good push because again, eventually all that stuff leads to liver cirrhosis, and if you have a liver cirrhosis, then it's really difficult. The liver is a very robust organ.
It is.
Right, and it can heal itself extremely well. You can throw everything and this kitchen sink at it, and it will be perfectly fine in your younger years.
In your younger years.
Over time, if you damage and it starts to cirrhose, it starts to just like not work in the same way. A lot of people they look for liver transplants.
Okay.
Right? And you have to understand, if you have a drug that is really good at counteracting some of that and preventing that from happening, then yes, for sure, the long-term prospects of this drug can be very, very beneficial in the medical industry. So I think it's definitely something that's very, very valuable. In terms of the chart,
yes, sir,
it's been selling off pretty aggressively. So that's something I want to cover as well. Yep. The medicine's great and everything, but at the end of the day, the chart and the price action is what matters. You can see we've had this strong bid all the way. This is a 3-hour chart. All the way from, I guess, 2022, September 2022 to about 2024. So about 2 years straight, almost exactly, we had a strong bid, which held up. And sure, you can draw that trend line however you want, but once we broke that support, we've only been selling off. So I've had some anchored VWAPs. I should technically have one on this breakdown as well, but there you go, right there. Every time we push up in and around this area, we can see that sellers come back in because it's shown us over 2 years of a dominant buying. Now sellers step in, back-to-back earnings, maybe not digested properly by the rest of the market. And yeah, it's definitely cutting down on some of the fat that we've been accumulating over the past couple of years. So Novo Nordisk definitely want to watch out for that one. I don't know how groovy some of that action is, but
All right, Adair, this is one that you keep your eye on quite a bit, and I heard you giggling up there, so I'm assuming there is a Donald Vladimir update.
So I'll start with the Donald thing, and I'm just going to strictly say what happened, and you can make your own opinions based on it. So here's what happened. So
what happened?
Basically, Vladimir Zelensky was asked, once the hopefully, the war ends and the political situation and the conflict settles down, would you be open to an election? And Volodymyr Zelensky said, of course, right? Once things are safe, 100%, we can do an election. Then Donald Trump comments that, if a war happened in 3.5 years, then maybe we wouldn't be able to have an election. And I'm paraphrasing slightly, but that was the nature of the comment, and then he laughed, and then other people laughed. So, yeah, that was my reaction as well. I want to talk here now, though, not about that.
Oh, boy.
Now, Novo Nordisk is one that I do watch. I find it a little bit tricky to intraday trade, so I didn't even really bother looking at it today. I think the story is really huge for the same reason that you said, specifically with regards to these implications, hopefully for mental health treatments as well. I know this is something you and I have talked about off camera. That would be really huge. But I want to talk about a different story involving a different weight loss drug company, and that's Eli Lilly, which, look at this flat top. I think if we break above that, $706 level, that's a great breakout for Lilly. We know Lilly has been a little bit embattled from the stock perspective as of late since its earnings, not because of the numbers, but because its oral GLP-1 drug or weight loss drug, didn't do quite as well as was expected. Though again, Novo Nordisk drugs was not initially well received either. So here's the thing though, guys. Apparently Bloomberg is reporting that the company is tapping into the high-grained bod market with a rare 40-year paper. They're trying to, I guess, look through these tranches. It could be as many as 7 different deals. So bizarre story here with Eli Lilly. This came out, I think, a little bit around the open. It wasn't super stock or market moving, but I wanted to mention it here because we're talking about Novo.
Yeah, Adair, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity, because I know you're busy, but the market's really taken a turn to the high side here. So it feels like maybe
I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it's probably something to do with the meeting that we're having right now, the market digesting that and in a good way. Hopefully we'll see what comes of this. We'll get back to you in a second. Let's talk about UNH, another one Adair keeps a close eye on. So UNH stock climbed pretty aggressively on Friday. Let's see where it's at right now. Are the good times continuing? Yeah, 3%, not a bad look, 2.89 to be exact. After news, this is on Friday, guys. This is actually on Thursday after the bell. Adair and Sean brought to you guys this live on the market recap show. It had a lot to do with Warren Buffett's 13F. So that's basically a statement that he files with the SEC every quarter to let him know exactly what new positions he's gotten in and out of. And we found out that he got into 5 million shares of UNH. That is obviously having sold off quite aggressively in the recent past. Michael Burry also purchased call options on about 350,000 shares. Burry's move signals expectations of a sector rebound, particularly within the Medicare Advantage rates for 2026, showing a potential upside. So despite the 41% year-to-date declines that UNH had been on, high-profile investments are, at least in the short term, boosting around the insurers. So they do face scrutiny still. As the SEC, they cleared their acquisition, their $3.3 billion acquisition of MSOS, which comes with the requirements that they divest, UNH that is, 160 healthcare facilities to satisfy the Department of Justice conditions. There is, though, speaking of the Department of Justice, the ongoing investigation by the DOJ into their Medicare Advantage billing practices, which obviously remains a headline risk for the company and could cap near-term upside until that's resolved. After a weaker than expected Q2 earnings for the company, UnitedHealth reaffirmed their full year 2025 guidance, signaling confidence in their long-term growth drivers. Management really emphasized its commitment to cooperate with the government investigation while maintaining their Medicare program participation. And in case you haven't really been following up with this company, despite the declines, despite all the problems that they've been facing, they declared a $2.21 share quarterly dividend, $2.21 quarterly dividend per share payable on the 24th of September of this year, reinforcing obviously the income appeal of the company. That's why a lot of people are in it for the coupon. The stock is down, as I mentioned, nearly 40% year to date, but the Buffett-Burry endorsement highlights what's being called the asymmetrical upside potential if the sector pressures ease, Obi.
All right, guys, traders, listen up. First month is free. That's right. We're waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder, and upgrade to Elite. Analyze, strategize, and capitalize. Our platform, it's everything. Infinite data, instant trading, lightning fast market insights, game-changing charts, predict with backtesting. Reliable, real-time data, global markets at your fingertips, all in one platform, so don't miss out. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading?
Yes.
Scan the QR code or check the link in the description. Thank you very much. So
UNH, what's your view here?
I like the look on UNH. All the big boys are starting to catch a little bit of a bid, but don't forget, a lot of these big boys love buying into the left side of the V before the right side even comes in, sometimes maybe even forming some of the bottoms as well. So that's something you do want to consider, and it is catching a little bit of a bid. But going to a higher time frame, I really like this look. We false broke this flush right here. We talked about this a little bit last week, where I was like, all right, well, we had this aggressive, strong flush, lots of volume here within most recent time. The drop from 600s, you can see the most volume coming in on that flush into 250s, right? So we look a little weak, we break down the consolidation, and we get multiple days, maybe multiple months, a couple months of selling all the way through that low coming in at 250. We false break that. The low is $234.60. Right? So we false break that, we bid back up, and then you start getting news of like, oh, Burry's buying, Berkshire's buying, everybody is buying now. Everybody loves the long after they get confirmation that bigger players who have done successful in the past are also buying. I like that look. The sentiment is building up pretty nicely. Now the question comes in, can we break this 330 with any sort of distinction? Because there is a lot of headwind on this. Look at all of this volume that comes in on those selling days. 375, I think, is going to be the key. If we can effectively sustain price above 375, that's where this aggressive selling and this aggressive volume came in, then maybe we start seeing a real shift in sentiment. But I think that getting involved in and around here is perfectly fine. I think you do have a little bit of tailwind. We false broke the range lows as well. We're pushing up into range highs. So now, if you're not already long from down here, I think it's good to watch out for some of these highs. So because it's worked out pretty well. I'm not saying, oh, because it false broke the low, of course we're going to the highs. I'm just saying we false broke the lows and now we're heading to the highs. So again, it's a similar question that I was asking before. What's the probability now of testing that range high on something like this that's only been selling off? And this is the first sign of a potentially decent bid coming in. You can see the volume structure here as well. The volume is distinctly different than all of this consolidation. We do have elevated volume, especially on that push through 280. So I do like this for a bit of the turn. Is it going to follow through with distinction? I have no idea, but that's something I would like to see on this one. Potential for a swing? Absolutely.
And if you get back to some of those area highs, that's a hell of a trade too. You know, maybe not right away.
Intraday for sure.
Absolutely.
Think about all the pressure that's sitting at some of those support and resistance levels.
Oh, for sure, no question about it. This one was sold off aggressively. Obadera, this is quite an interesting one over here with obviously Uncle Warren and Michael Burry.
Yeah, I've already said I don't think that this was a Warren Buffett decision for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get back into why, but I think Michael Burry is maybe the most fascinating player in all of this. We know that this man plays like 3D chess. Some of his calls are a little bit wild and they don't always work. Like, for example, when he was shorting Nvidia before it made new all-time highs, I believe that was like around early 2024. So I'm not saying like this man is a perfect investor, but he definitely, we know from what happened here with the financial crash in 2008 that he really thinks through his decisions. He does his research. Right. And so to me, I think his endorsement of UNH here through the investment, that is honestly more significant to me than the Berkshire Hathaway call, in my opinion. You can take that how you will. Now, again, that does not change that UNH has like so many headwinds right now. This is an infographic. This just covers January 2024 to May 2025. This is their monthly stock performance. As you guys can tell, it's been a whirlwind. So even if we ignore the DOJ investigation, which we shouldn't, but regardless of this investigation here by the DOJ with regards to fraud, we also had the company's health tech unit facing a cybersecurity attack back in 2024. Then a month after that cybersecurity attack happened, we had the U.S. government investing whether or not UnitedHealth actually acted in accordance with U.S. health privacy laws. So already UNH is kind of already mired in controversy. If you go back to like early 2024, they had to deal with charges from that attack. Then, of course, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. Then the CEO of United Health Group steps down like 6 months later. So just chaos on chaos on chaos. Lots of headwinds for this company, unfortunately. And I you know, does that change just because we have some high-profile people investing?
Right.
I'm really not sure it does, because that's just, you know, the face. That doesn't actually have anything to do with the interior of the company. And furthermore, 320, I think, is huge resistance. We have not gotten above that since the most recent quadung, for lack of a better term, that we had when Andrew Whitty stepped down as CEO on May 13th. I want to mention as well here, Sharif.
Yep.
I couldn't find anything for that big pop to the upside in the market, but we dropped right after, and that is because Donald Trump thinks that they don't need a ceasefire with the Ukraine and Russia, that they can continue fighting while they work it out. So, yeah. That's
Well, isn't that kind of what he said last time? Let the two little brothers fight it out there until, I guess, one parent gets involved or one brother ends up in the emergency room. Who knows how this is going to work out, Adara. But, yeah, they're still talking as we speak. Keep us updated if there's any other breaking news. Thank you for that, Adara. All right, let's go on to solar stocks. They surge on a favorable U.S. tax credit guidance. So what happened? We saw solar really making a big move on Friday. We didn't really understand why. We got, like, you know, little pieces here and there for what was going on. Now we have a clearer picture. So you had the likes of First Solar up, FSLR 11%. Enphase Energy was also 8.1% in Greensville. It was really after the Trump administration issued guidance here that the punitive or the punishment, well, let's just say it as it's written. The Trump administration issued less punitive than expected tax credit rules. We know a lot of these had been set to lapse, with a lot of the, let's call them green energy deals being basically canceled. The relief rally signals investor confidence that the federal incentives will remain accessible for major solar developers. You're going to have residential solar systems remain eligible under the prior rules, shielding existing installs from disruption. There's also the larger projects that must meet physical construction standards but have 4 years to kind of get into compliance, easing their near-term execution pressure. The policy clarity reduces the uncertainty that remained around the solar industry and unlocks what they're saying for developers and investors, the visibility of what their investments will be. So the scale and the market risk here as a result of this policy shifts. We know that over 2,500 wind and solar projects representing capacity, according to this article, I don't know how accurate this is, of 383 nuclear reactors. What they need to know is that wind and solar are not the same uptime as these nuclear reactors. So I think this is complete red herring. Could be affected by the new standards if not started soon. Larger, this is actually relevant though. The larger and more well-capitalized firms are positioned to benefit from this because they have that 4-year window, while the small and mid-tier developers risk missing compliance deadlines, Obi. So we saw solar strong on Friday, kind of continued into today. What's your look, brother?
Yeah, I was looking, honestly, one of my top ideas were some of these stocks in the solar sector here, because we did get that aggressive push intraday. It was an intraday catalyst that gave us a high-day break. And not only that, a little bit of a consolidation break here as well. So First Solar was one of them that I was looking at. And this morning,
sorry to interrupt, guys. Just want to let you know the press has been kicked out of the Zelensky and Trump meeting. It's over.
Thank you, Adara.
They're just, I guess they were just told to get out. Okay, thank you for that update there. But yeah, no, First Solar, we gapped up a little bit, and we had that strong push off of the open. So if you were looking for that continuation, oh boy, did it come in hot and heavy right off of the open, like a beam straight to the upside here, 2050s, and running quite nicely. And speaking of running, Sunrun was another one. Right through pre-market highs, right through prior highs as well, straight through 15s, and that came in pretty aggressively just as well. All the buying done in the first few minutes, and then the rest of the day we just sell off, pretty muted and just consolidating in and around VWAP, some of them on top, some of them below. But what I'm looking at here, Sharif, is the bigger picture. I do think that we could get some nice tailwind or solar wind on this one to kind of fill the sales. So,
tell them what that is,
continuation through prior range highs. So, sorry, current day's highs is going to be interesting. So, what I'm looking for is simple: the 3-bar play, leg, consolidation, leg. We saw the leg coming in on Friday. Today we're consolidating. If we break ranges on these solar names going into tomorrow, I will definitely be interested in that one. So today's range, I think, for me specifically, is going to be very important.
Can you say why you're doing that, though? In uptrends, there is a consistent pattern of seeing trend, consolidation, trend.
And it's price acceptance, right?
Exactly.
It's price acceptance. It's a basic
you didn't revert
concept.
Back.
Yeah, you never reverted.
That's your first order of business. That's your first clue right there.
100%. Price is sustaining. You can have low volume drop-offs. You can have whatever else to confluence and make it even better. But you basically run, price gets extended, and then it accumulates, it consolidates, and then eventually, like, you have to accept that price is now accepting this higher price.
Exactly.
And so the action is accepting this higher price. The participants are accepting this higher price.
Right.
So what does this mean going forward? The range of this higher price consolidation definitely starts to get a stronger weighting, and that's how I kind of look at at those things. So let's see if it actually follows through. We might not follow through that cleanly, and then you can be like, what are other action? What are other, I guess, patterns of price action that dictate uptrends? So we can still break range lows, but maybe still make a technically higher low relative to the initial bid that came in.
Yeah.
Right? So there's all those different iterations of continuation that could also happen. It's never going to be clean, but the general concept is, do you understand if price is going up? Does it follow your definition of uptrend or downtrend? Until then, I think this sector is definitely in a little bit of a short-term uptrend right now.
I like it, man. I like it. I like how you put that. Very well said. Very, very clean explanation. Adara, what's your look on some of these solar stocks? There's a whole bunch to choose from. You got TAN up, I think, like 10% on the day or something like that. What's your look?
Yeah, I mean, these aren't ones that I necessarily trade. I kept an eye here on FSLR and Enphase was just like totally beaten up on the daily Enphase. But yeah, I mean, in the end, there wasn't anything that was like, screaming at me. So this wasn't really anything I seriously looked at or got involved in. I will say here, I have TAN. This is a great move yesterday. Today also strong, but we could not get above this high in the morning here of 42, at least for TAN. So I mean, if you break out 42 on TAN, that's a good look. Yeah, I think that this whole solar story is very interesting. At least we have a reason for why they're running, because it took a while to figure out why this move was happening, at least last week. So, yeah, I want to see again if there's any kind of further guidance here. The fact that things are less punitive than expected, I think beyond what the details are, is a huge win for the industry, right? Because we know that Trump is very much not a fan of solar and wind. If you've heard him talking about windmills, then you are certainly aware of that fact, right? So I think anything that was less punitive was going to be a win. We'll have to see, I guess, what extent to which these are less punitive. The fact that also, I guess, they have 4 years to comply is another, I think, nice little tailwind. So again, I think reading more into the specifics is key. Specifically, if you're looking for a certain company, because again, this is going to benefit certain companies more than others, of course. But yeah, interesting look here for TAN. I think the industry as a whole is generally, at least in the short term, going to benefit from this clarification.
Thank you, Dara. Let's go on to the next story. BYD extending their global EV lead as Tesla continues to struggle. So BYD led worldwide new energy vehicles. NEVs include hybrids as well as battery electric vehicles as well, just to keep that in mind. BYD does all three. So they led worldwide new energy vehicle sales in Q2 of 2025, delivering 4.86 million units. Again, new energy vehicles includes hybrids across BEVs, plug-in hybrids, and fuel cell vehicles, which they make very little of. So I don't really care about that segment all that much. I think it's probably not going to be great. Going forward, we'll have to wait and see. What Elon thinks that the best case scenario for fuel cell vehicles is not even where batteries are currently. Batteries are ahead of that. If you believe Elon, then that's a look. The company captured about 18.3% of the total global market, while Tesla trailed at 11.7%, slipping after a 14% year-over-year sales drops in multiple regions. Let's talk about that. Multiple region sales drops. So Tesla sales fell by double digits in Europe with steep declines in France, Sweden, Denmark. U.S. weakness also visible as California Sales dropped 21% year over year on the month, despite the Model 3 and the Model Y maintaining the bestseller status in that state. So it's not like he doesn't have any fans, just not enough to keep the #1 spot. In the UK as well, Tesla volumes fell 40%, losing market share to rivals as broader sales in the region actually grew by 60%. So you can't say it's a UK consumer not adopting electric vehicles. No, they are. 60% more than they were last year. They're just not buying Teslas, and we probably know why. And guess who's filling Tesla's spot in that UK market? BYD. This is an eye-watering number here. Sales surging in the United Kingdom, 314% year over year on the month in the UK, with over 3,100, almost 3,200 vehicles sold in July alone. The surge highlights BYD's growing international penetration and Tesla's relative weakness in the competitive European market. And also, it's not just Europe that they're doing it. They're doing it freaking live in India as well. And if you know anything about the Indian and the Chinese geopolitical relationship, you know that this is interesting that they're selling BYDs in India, and that's what they're doing. BYD set a new sales record in India with over 3,000 units sold in August, surpassing all of 2024's sales in just 1 month. So that made sense to me because I didn't think BYD was in India in that scale, but they are. The company's preparing for a major European push in 2026, launching premium sub-brands Yang, Wang, and Denza. The expansion strategy positions BYD as a multi-market competitor to Tesla across the mid-range premium EVs. So just to give everybody an idea of what BYD's chart's like. So there's two different tickers, guys. BYDDY and BYDDF. I think they're similarly priced now. BYDDY, let's go with that. Shout out to Jeff Mendel and the OTC exchange. So this is trading around 1452. Let's have a look at BYDDF. 1461. So I'm not saying that they're same price, but they weren't always like this. One was more expensive, one was a bit cheaper. Let's look at the daily chart on this. I've seen better looking daily charts, but I got to tell you, I know a bunch of people are looking at this as well. BYD is pulled into the 200 moving average. So, you know, a lot of people, and rightfully so, have reservations about buying Chinese stocks. I'm one of them as well. But this is a key technical level, Loeb. Look at the weekly. I know you're a fan of the wider time frames. Look at this area on the weekly here that we're getting into, a clear area of previous resistance that we're getting into. So, yeah, what's your look here on?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought was doing well in India. How can she slap? Look at that slap of the highs through that range high right there. So, oh boy, what a continuation. And yeah, we're coming back right into some of those levels, and it's absolutely beautiful price action here on BYDDY. Both charts looking very, very similar here. I like the look. I like the structure. The story is building up pretty nicely, and the structure is holding pretty well as well. And you can see volume confirmation as well, which makes this move even stronger. The consolidation breakout. Look at the consolidation push in 2025. The volume here being greater than any of the past 5 years, Sharif. So we're holding up higher prices on elevated volume. And oh boy, is this one slapping to the upside on a higher time frame. So that's the look I have there. I did not know they were involved in India. That's pretty cool. Man. That's a huge market. So I think it's definitely something that's very healthy for the company.
Yeah, and this is something we've been seeing more of. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. India and China have not been friendly for many years. They have a disputed area.
Now they're starting to get in.
Exactly. I was just about to get to that. So they have a disputed region. I forget what the region is called. China claims it. India claims it. But now, I was watching on the weekend, the Chinese foreign minister is actually in India. Really? So, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, deals are happening.
Deals are happening. And clearly, we see that they're actually selling products in India. So, I mean, if you're not looking for actual proof, then what are you looking for? Idera, what's your look here? You can take whatever angle you want. Take the Tesla, take the BYD, take EVs. What's your look?
Mine is XPEV. I want to talk about this because we know XPEV has already kind of been impressive when it comes to some of these delivery numbers, and now it's actually the 7th largest, according to this TrendForce report. Has the 7th largest market share across the BEV world specifically. Now, that's only like 3.1%. It's almost tied with a couple other companies, so it's not huge, but it is worth noting like some of these other companies are actually rising up the ranks, which I think is significant. As we have Tesla falling, and again, Tesla's market share status is falling as we have the increase overall in these BEV sales across the globe, right? So it's,
right.
I would say more than anything, it's still kind of a rough look for Tesla. That being said, there's one region where Tesla is beloved, and that is Norway. Yeah, that will never be explained, but yeah, I mean, shout out to Norway, even as its neighbor Sweden is not buying Teslas. These Norwegians are loving Tesla. So, and apparently it's because I guess this is one region that's kind of skipped that Elon Musk dislike, is what I was reading. That's what some people are attributing it to. Either way, yeah, I think unless Tesla gets some other non-Norway regions really liking its products, it could continue to be a rough look for the company, unfortunately. But yeah, good look for BYD, good look for XPEV, and I think one more thing as well. We know that the U.S. and China are continuing to be not on good terms. And it's interesting that as this happens, we actually have these Chinese EVs continuing to maybe outperform these American companies like Tesla.
Oh, goodness. Well, just the stock prices, but if you actually talk about the cars, it's not even a comparison anymore.
Just in terms of like the market share.
Yeah, completely get your point there. So on this side of the border, we had some interactions with the Chinese because of our 100% tariffs on any imported Chinese electric vehicles. And we were doing it to kind of be in line with the Americans, who also slapped 100%. Mexico, for their part, still hasn't done that. They don't have 100% tariffs on these Chinese EVs strictly. So in response to our 100% EVs, which were put by the previous prime minister but kept on by the current prime minister, they've now slapped tariffs, big tariffs on canola seeds, canola oil, as well as other things. And obviously, if you're from the prairies, you know that's definitely a big export for. We're going to see reciprocity. We can't.
Super unhealthy though, canola. Well, you probably don't want. I mean, you know all about it.
I hear what you're saying.
Cooking, but I know a lot of people definitely. It's a strong commodity. Let's say that.
It is, yeah, and definitely one. There was another one as well that they placed tariffs on. Imported seafood, which you kind of feel like probably doesn't move the needle that much. But in any event, a response nonetheless. Let's go on over here. So Thoma Bravo eyeing a private deal takeover for Dayforce, ticker DAY, D-A-Y, $10.34 billion market cap. So this Thoma Bravo apparently is in advanced talks to acquire Dayforce, which is a Minneapolis-based HR management software provider, kind of like CRM or Monday. The transaction would take Dayforce private and could be announced within weeks, according to the article, though talks may still falter or be delayed, so no confirmation there. Dayforce's shares slipped about 5% in the past year, but as I mentioned, they're up 27% and change today, giving the company a current market value of $10.72 billion. The article says 8.4, but that doesn't include the 27% pop on the day. Thoma Bravo's strategy apparently is this. The firm, which is led by co-founder Orlando Bravo, has built a reputation for software-focused acquisitions. Despite a tough year for the company and for private equity deployment, Thoma Bravo remains active in pursuing buyouts, continuing its track record of investing through the market cycles. But there's been silence from both sides, even though the stock, as I mentioned, up 27%. Neither Thoma Bravo or Dayforce, for their part, provided any public comment on the potential deal. The lack of commentary obviously underscores the sensitivity of the ongoing negotiations, which remain obviously subject to change at any time. So the market already reacting to this headline. It was moving right at 4 a.m. It gapped up from the closing print of $53 on Friday. It's got a high of 67 today, but has really done nothing for the intraday traders on the day. Kind of a sideways move.
I think it really depends on how you're trading here. It is a buyout rumor, I think, right? So it's kind of acting like one off of the open. So yeah, pretty much a little bit of a churn happening here. Look at that VWAP hold, right? So it's like every time it gets into VWAP, it finds buyers. The initial opening didn't really work like that, but eventually when we got that slam into VWAP, you see VWAP kind of holding up. So it seems like the average participant is buying and holding this stock on the day here, and 66, what is it, 66 halves, 66 43s, and quadruple sixes is where that that VWAP is sitting at as of right now. So yeah, holding up pretty well. So yeah, it didn't really, if you were looking for a fall through continuation, maybe not the kind of catalyst you want to really look for that on, but in terms of a consolidation and a tight churn of VWAP, I think this has been a great day trader on Dayforce. But it really depends on what you're looking for. I know a lot of people are deterred by this is only 80 penny range, it doesn't really matter, whatever. But guess what? It's done about 6.73 million shares, and it's doing 20 times relative volume on the day. So there are definitely people who are doing extremely well forcefully on this day.
All right, I know, Dara, we're strapped for time with the big boy show coming on. Do you have anything to add about Dayforce? Yeah, it is.
I will say I've actually used this app because they used it at one of the companies I worked with when I was in retail. And yeah, I mean, in terms of its actual usability as an app, I was immediately taken back there when I saw this lovely little ticker moving this morning. I mean, yeah, it's not the most user-friendly platform of all time, but I was also not using it to actually schedule. Basically, for those who don't know what Dayforce actually does, I can maybe provide a bit of insight on this as someone who's used it. It's basically just for they describe it as HR, but it's more for scheduling, for hiring, for onboarding, for training. You can put everything on the platform. You can see your schedule, but it's not the most user-friendly platform. As I kind of alluded to, it actually comes to seeing, when am I working this day? How do I access my trading? And I would say the mobile version, the app version is very bad compared to the actual desktop version, which is never a fun feature for an app to have. So that's my really quick take on Dayforce. I'm aware that's not as much about the buyout as much as it is the product.
That's fine.
But I think maybe providing a little bit of a different spin on this for people who aren't familiar with what it actually does. We'll have to see if this buyout comes out. But yeah, I mean, this wasn't on my radar because I kind of assumed what Obi said, it would probably behave like a buyout. It actually has, but that doesn't mean we can't break above or break lower later today. That 65 hold, particularly in the morning, looked really interesting.
Thank you, Dara, for that. And with that, Obi and I's time on the midday comes to an end. We throw it to the big boys, and thanks for filling in again, Ob. Friday, you put in a double shift on Friday, my guy,
I'll be here on Friday once again.
You'll be here on Friday? Yeah. Yep, you'll be filling in for the Katina man. I believe, Adara, you're off on Wednesday, right? Correct. So Adara's off on Wednesday, so all hell's going to break loose on the show.
Oh, boy.
We're kidding. Of course, everything will be fine. Have somebody covered, but the big boys are that way. You'll see Obi on Friday for Sean on the Big Show. Take care, guys.
Take care.